From the left, Sincere, I'm going to shout you out. And just one word that describes your brand. I think that's a good challenge. One word. If I had to think of one word. Isn't that good?
That's a good one.
When I think Curtis King, I think Producer Noor. Instant. When I think Postman, I think How to Live Off Beats, a.k.a. Independence. So I don't know a keyword, but you know what I mean. That is one keyword.
That's about 5 words.
Yeah, live off beats, hashtag.
Make it a hashtag.
Say it again?
That's one word.
Yeah, the hyphens. Or a hashtag, either way.
Or URL.
So, URL. Where's that mic? Andy, do we have a mic floating somewhere? All right. Awesome. What's up? Yes, sir, please. And again, it's just to get everybody to know each other. I think that's the most important thing before we begin. So we're gonna start with Sincere in the front left with the Genius yellow hoodie on. Genius. Get
Hello?
it? Okay. We rolling, Chad? Yep. We rolling, Kev? All right. Okay. We're good.
All right. I'm Sincere, and the one word I would use to describe my brand is committed.
Committed. There it is. Like your beard, you committed. That's awesome, man. I'll let you pass it to Serge with the good vibes. Thanks, sir.
My name is Beast Music. My one word I would describe everything that I do, whether it's music or life or coaching or whatever, it's just passion. I'm just giving passion in everything I do, and that's all I know how to do.
Pours out of him, you know. To my man, right to your right.
My name's Kyrell, and I'm just trying to make my business grow.
So growth.
Growth. Yeah.
There it is, Kyrell and growth. I already know what Derek's gonna say.
Hey everyone, I'm Derek. One word to describe mine would be faith. My music, I'm a music producer. I have a lot of faith in myself, and I'm going to continue believing in myself until I get to my goal. So,
There he is. Awesome.
That's what's up. I love the passion, man. Since we're gonna be unique, I would have probably maybe went with that one. That was my first thought. I would say inspiration. You know, something bigger than you. You know.
There he is. I've seen it. He brought his friends yesterday because it's bigger than him. He's the living testament to what he just said. So.
All right, my name is Levon, and yeah, mine's just creativity.
Creativity.
What's up, y'all? I'm sick, so my voice cracks. My bad. My name's Lucian, and I would describe my brand as cinematic.
Oh, dope. Nobody took that one yet.
What's up? My name is Nick. I go by Nino Fantastic, and I'd say colorful would be my word.
Colorful. Deep.
My name is Rich, and I go by Dedicated.
Dedicated. Awesome.
My name's Nick, and I'm just trying to make my beats unique.
My name's Zach. I go by Simba Got It, and the one word I use is fly.
Hey, talk that talk, boy.
What's up? I'm Steven. I go by Classic Hongy B. One word to describe my brand, legacy.
What's up, Derek?
I had a question about producing. How do we name our files to keep track of them? Because I make a lot of beats, and I run out of things to call them, and I'm like, what was that beat again? Like, how do you guys organize your beats when you're making them, when you're naming them?
Not to jump in first, but I definitely got a whole method for this. Listen, and you're just talking about naming the tracks, right?
Yeah, to keep track of which ones you've done.
What DAW do you use?
FL Studio.
Okay, well that part's not gonna help you, but here's another trick that I use. Watch TV, watch a movie, just listen for words, and there you go. Listen for words, listen for phrases. You won't rack your brain and waste your creative space thinking of names. Just you'll hear something, you're like, yeah, that's what it is. It's the whatever. That's how I do it. And when you name it, also put the key and put the BPM. Trust me, when you pull it up later, you will thank yourself.
Thank you, Sandro.
Mark Zuckerberg has one color inside of his closet, the Facebook blue. Why? Because he says he doesn't want to exert too much energy towards anything else except for the bottom line. Wears one shirt. He got the same car. He got the same pants. But I think sometimes we put so much pressure on that when really I think the bigger thing is, you know, I had somebody tell me that was really successful in getting placements in like TV and sync. He told me one of the greatest things in terms of organization. Instead of trying to think of, you know, creative names, because sometimes I could turn somebody off. Like I remember I used to make beats like pink Chargers or cold Cheetos, like just things in the room that I was looking around and I was like, okay, the font is pink and I got a phone charger. This ridiculous. And it ended up turning people away from it. Like, this weirdo. Okay, let me not, without even listening to music. So what I suggest, and what I learned from if you ever do want to get into TV sync and licensing, start to separate your beats by the scenes of what movies you can imagine them being in. Car chase scene, luxurious, when you're talking about somebody going down Rodeo Drive, and this is the kind of music that evokes those emotions, and then it becomes that folder. And then based upon you remembering the vibe of the song, you'll know the BPM, like our son Oracle was saying, the BPM, and you'll go straight to that folder. And then that way, when you do get a company that says, hey, we would love to use some of your music, you have an entire folder to send to them for the specific scene that they need. So like I have a fun folder that is for, one time I had Panda Express, representative of Panda Express hit me up for production. I didn't get the placement, but I had a folder ready for them and they appreciated that. So, having that separation, really that's what, it's crazy because as varying personalities that rappers are, we're all very kinesthetic. We're very like Philly. We say things like, I'm not feeling this beat. You know what I mean? Or I'm not catching the vibe off of this. So really what you are creating is more than just beat titles. You're creating emotions. So make those separation by emotions. It'll better suit you for whatever you're trying to do. I'm not sure specifically what it is that you're trying to do for placement or whatnot, but I'm telling you that system helped me tremendously because it's nothing worse than me trying to use my own memory, which I try to exert most of that energy towards creating new product or, trying to think of new ideas for the business. But to go through gigs worth of beats, trying to find that one when you could have had a separation between the emotion. And honestly, even though we're capable of so many emotions as human beings, most of us really make like 5 or 6 in a cycle. You're a really angry beat, you're really melodic beat. I think this can be on the radio beat. You may have your own sort of a kaleidoscope of variations that you go through, but separated by that. And then from there, the worst thing you want to do is just make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because that's going to be a pain. When you try to search for beats, especially on Windows. I don't do that.
Yeah. So I have in terms of like tracking it, because my first deal, I got a TV deal, and they needed 500 beats, and I was in trouble because I didn't know where nothing was. I just was saving beats, had half done loops, you know what I mean? So I was in trouble. So I learned since then a system that I use. One of the things he says very important. I named the beat, whatever. I don't really care about the name too much. As I do, I make sure I have the BPM. I make sure I have in the title the BPM. I have the key, and I have the date that I made it, and I separate my folders by months. So January, so I have a month of January. And so now because you need to save the tracked out files, and that's what's important, being able to go back to open the session. So now let's say you sell a beat a year later, and you like, okay, well, damn, where am I gonna find this beat? I done had 500 beats, 3 hard drives. Well, you can look at the date, and then you can go back to that folder because that's the date you had saved all your beats from January in the January folder. And then you go back and you have your session files there. So that's what I've used, and it's kind of saved me now from the headache, because there's nothing worse than having to dig through 1,000 beats to find a session, and you got money waiting on you, and you just don't even know where to start, and you're opening up 100 files. So that's what I would say.
Track out every beat too. I know it's a pain depending on the equipment you have, but he just reminded me, track out every beat. When you're done with that beat and it's mixed and all of that, track it out. Because when you got money waiting on the other line and they're waiting on you to find the files, export the files, send it through WeTransfer or upload it to, Dropbox, that's important time to where they're keeping that in their mental database. They're saying, it was a headache to try to get these files from him last time. But they always remember, even if you're less talented than the next person, they'll remember that you were on top of your P's and Q's. They'll go to you before somebody else because even if they're more talented, you're less of a headache to deal with. So I would get in the habit of every time you putting out new beats, because I always quote this and always say it. Every time you export a beat out of your program, FL Studio, Reason, Logic, that is real estate. You just created a home. You created an apartment. No matter where it goes, that is now your passive income. Take care of it every single step of the way, and Trackouts is included in that.
I got 2 more points, and then we can keep it moving, but they both reminded me of something. first of all, Postman talking about chronologically organizing your stuff. I don't know if anybody's ever seen my live streams, like when I'm just making beats. I know Beats Music seen it. I show my push and you see all of them. It's like 11 August 4. It's always the year, the month, and then whatever folder number it is for that month. Not only does it help you stay organized, but after you've been making beats for a long time, you can see what you were on in this year, in that month. You know what I mean? It's kind of like snapshots of yourself and what you were doing at the time and how you were feeling. So that's number one. Does anybody out here use Ableton? Okay, dope. There's a Max Valad plugin called Song Name Generator. It will just generate song names for you.
Quick question about the storage. Because I remember I used to have mad external hard drives, and I had like the ones without the cases, and I'm plugging them in like toasters and stuff like that. And then some of those things go bad. Do you guys recommend cloud storage at all?
Sure. Amazon AWS. Yeah, that's what I use for all my
Now, is it the consumer side or is it commercial side?
I use the consumer side because it's technically free unless somebody actually downloads it or streams it. Yeah, with my Prime, yeah. So I use Amazon AWS. You can have a terabyte on there, and you don't even have to really pay anything any month. So that's what I use.
I use Dropbox for everything. All my Ableton library, every track I save, everything I have, it goes into Dropbox. And the reason for that is, number one, it's cloud storage, because I've been in situations where I had mad backups, but when somebody steal all your stuff, they steal the backups with it, bro. You feel me? So you definitely, I use Dropbox, and also I have more than one computer. If you have more than one computer, whatever you put on one computer is automatically on another computer. So all my stuff, Dropbox.
Sergio, what's up?
Yeah, just a follow-up question to that. Have you guys ever had any issues with missing files from a Dropbox or something like that ever in the past? Because that's something it's new to me. I've never been in the cloud storage. And not just, we think of worst case when we play devil's advocate. What happens if something's gone? The backups are gone, the physical backups are gone. That was your fail-safe, and you go there and that's gone. Has that ever happened to any of you? Have you heard of it happening before?
Never happened to me. Not only has it never happened to me, but Dropbox also makes backups of every file, different versions of each file. So you can have a file in there. You don't have to necessarily pull up the current version. You're like, oh, what was this file a week ago, a month ago? And you can load up that.
Yeah, never had that. I only had problems with hard drives. And you guys are lucky because back in the day, external hard drive was like this big. And you had like 100 gigabytes at the best. And that thing was going to die probably in about a year. And you lost. So I've lost probably a good 1,000 beats like that. Yeah, but the cloud never had a problem.
Trust in the cloud. I would rather trust in that than these pieces of hardware. Man, quick horror story, really quick. If I can tell that real quick horror story. I had a laptop that I nicknamed Frankenstein. Okay, because when I opened it up one night, the swivel part snapped, and the neck was broke. Right, and so I basically had made it work to where it was times I was in studios like trying to resuscitate Frankenstein in different studios and try not to make a lot of noise, but I was that guy, right? And then one morning when I had to, like I said, deliver track outs, it wasn't turning on. So I took it to a computer repairman, and he told me that he refused to fix it because it would cost more than the original of what it cost to buy the laptop. And he said, I'm being honest with you. You might as well just get another laptop. And so out of anger, I took it home. I threw that laptop on the couch. The light came on.
It always works.
Always work, right? And I spent the next 23 hours of my time. I propped that laptop up and I sat it on a chair that you probably never had a laptop on it before. And for the next 23 hours, I uploaded everything I had to Mediafire because that was the cheapest one at the time. But I say that to say trust in these cloud services. And then on top of that, if you do have that feeling, it's probably there for a reason. Back it up somewhere else. Have multiple places you can pull from. Because I know now, if I don't have there's nothing that I have that is of importance that is only on one drive. Never. Because every single time, because think about it, even if you got the most indestructible drive and something happens, there's something that, what they call it, forensics for the actual drives. It's like another $1,200, $1,300 for them to even see if they can open it up.
Yeah, definitely not worth it.
Yeah,
but also I never go to the studio with external drives. I never play my beats off external drives. It's on the computer. I mean, I back them up to external drives, but when I go to the studio, you'll leave drives, you'll lose drives, you'll drop drives. You ain't dropping your laptop. You're not gonna leave your laptop. You know what I mean? And plus, it's on deck, so I keep all my stuff.
You're gonna get a call from somebody saying, "Hey, we use about 10 of your beats. You know, how you like this?"
Awesome, man. We had a couple friends come through. It was one sec before we just keep it in mind. So Ashley and Jalen come in. So shout out to you guys. Just wanted to introduce you. And then we got Crucial Keys snuck up in here. You can please come up here as well. And your friend here? I'm sorry, we don't know each other.
That's codename Coltrane.
Codename Coltrane? Codename Coltrane.
Now officially the coolest person in the room.
Awesome, man. Did you want to share with the community
Producer,
today?
engineer.
As far as what I do.
Yeah, I mean, did you want to hop up here and just share your experiences?
No, you don't want to hear him. He talks too much.
Oh, he talks too much? All right, good. Okay. Awesome. So did you just get back from the East Coast? Hey, how are you? There he is. So again, did you just get in from the East Coast?
No, I'm in LA.
Oh no, I mean, did you go to Grammy weekend?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. That was the other day. I did
Right.
like a 1 day in, 1 day out.
Just flying in, flying out.
Flying in, flying out. You know what I mean? Had to support the birthday, and you know, Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats was honored for the Grammy.
Oh wow.
You know, and had to show up. Did the birthday party, came right back. You know what I mean? Trying to finish mixing these records. That's
Awesome,
what this
man.
guy's for.
Oh yeah, he got his laptop out right now doing work, taking notes. Okay, awesome. Yeah, just to kind of give you the gist. We started with the question, and I think the question was, you know, how to creatively name your files. Meaning, you know, how do you come up with the file name? How do you come up with the song name? Was that the original question, Derek? I'll give my
Actually,
quick.
No, we were on that. Then we went to the cloud
We went to
storage
another
thing.
question, but I wanted to go back to that because I had an answer, but we kept rolling, which is awesome. But let's get your insight as well. Firstly, I'd say, you know, think about white noise. You know, the stuff that goes, tss, you know, what a whistle really is a concentration of white noise. You're filtering out stuff. So imagine a whole spectrum of noise, and slowly you're cutting out more and more frequency to narrow it down to a resonance or a frequency. So tss turns into, you know, that's how we build whistle, and that's how we build tonal bells. So when you're thinking of creative names, you know, one thing I do for tutorials, for example, I create an intention, you know, like I'm going to make a Playboi Carti tutorial. It changes my whole thought process to say, instead of running through the thousands of Sound Oracle sounds, you know, the 20,000, however many sounds he is, you know, I can narrow my thought to go to a specific kit or know what types of, you know, ambient on the snare or an ambience, or I need a tight snare. So it narrows my thought process. So I'm only picking from that palette. Okay, so that's going to narrow it tremendously. Also, it's going to guide your chord progression choices, et cetera, et cetera. So I can be long-winded for days, but I wanted to give that insight because that's what I personally do for tutorials. Also, I name stuff weird stuff sometimes, like just KS because I'm lazy. I'll just save it as KS B12. You know, nothing specific, but in FL Studio, you can actually, in your project folder, hit date modified and have that as your sort. I don't know if that helps as far as your product creation, but that helps me understand like what I've been, you know, up to recently, and I kind of backtrack. And also the Playboi Carti, or having a style to choose from, so you narrow that white noise into a resonance. So that's my philosophy. But can we get your insight on that, and then we can move forward back to the cloud storage? What else were we talking about? External hard drives, a bunch of stuff. The gist of it. So you got any tips you could share there?
Yeah, I just named the file. First thing that come to my head. You know what I mean? I don't even dwell on it until I know what, you know, the outcome is going to be. Then I'll change the name, and then, you know, you just have like version 1, version 2, version this. I just keep going, so I know where I left off at. And then, you know, just like we was talking about backing up stuff, you can always go, if you change something or whatever, and you're like, I like it better, you can always just go back to older version real easy. You know, I used to do dates, but then you're like, well, what was that beat? You know what I mean? I never could tell what the beat was by looking at dates. You know what I mean?
You just reminded me of something, which was the second part to that question, which was, how do you come up with a name for a song? Like, I think you were talking about Red Cheetos, or what was it, Pink Chargers and Old Cheetos, something like that.
You know what's interesting about it now, depending on what approach that you have when it comes either to the industry or even if you're doing things online, what you name your beat actually becomes part of your brand. You know, now that I started thinking about that now was that if you start to get certain types of beats and people who are getting, if you're only having a relationship through an email, they'll start to remember you for, he got the bangers, but he got some crazy names for beats. Or like my buddy of mine, he sends beats in all caps. No, but hear me out. Hear me out. That's what I said. I say, are you crazy? You sending beats in all caps? But then when you listen to them, the beat sounds like it's in all caps, mixed to just pristine. All right, and that becomes a thing to where it's like if it's not in all caps, I'll joke with them like, "Where's the all caps?" Because it deserves that. But I think that it can be a part of your branding, depending on what direction you're going. It may not work in terms of if you're approaching the industry with that, but look at it from that aspect too. That may be a part of your branding. You know, if you can, I'll give you an example. There's a producer online right now named Superstar O. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of him. His whole brand is nothing but, you know, Lamborghinis and that luxurious lifestyle. Look, Flash, right? Look at all his beat titles. They all evoke that same spirit. That's part of his brand. So if you have something that really speaks to a certain type of artist or a certain type of quality or whatnot, you may want to stay within that because that becomes another representation of your brand. So I didn't even think of that approach until right now, but is.
If I can interject, because you said something very important. If you're selling it online and you're putting your beats on there, like a beat player, beat site, stuff like that. So this is from proven tests. Your name is very important, and it depends on what market you're targeting. Because depending on the title of the track, the artist is going to skip it and try to find a title that resonates with what they're looking for. So if I have all female R&B artists going to my site and I name it Psycho Killer, they're probably going to skip that track, right? So you have to really think about that when you're online because you have to kind of put yourself in your markets and the artists that are coming to your site into their mind and find a title that will make them want to click on it.
You just helped me give another video for next week. Beat title psychology, because there's color psychology. You know, the reason why when you go buy certain fast foods, you ever wonder why they're all red and yellow? Or why, like Oscar Mayer, everything is red and yellow because psychologically it makes you hungry. You ever go buy a vending machine and you weren't even thirsty until you saw the blue and white ice chips and then you saw a Pepsi laying on the side of a mountain of ice? That's all studies that they've done. That's scientific facts that certain colors evoke certain emotions. Same thing with typography psychology, your font. So, you know, you wouldn't see, just like you were saying earlier, you wouldn't see a kid's movie with a Psycho Killer font, you know, unless it was meant to be sort of, I guess, ironic and, you know, satire. But generally, you would see font that goes along with that. When you think about, immediately, you think about the Toy Story font. That looks like it's the font for a children's movie. And that's done purposely. So the same thing as a producer, the titles that you're using, even that does play into the psychology. Because if you think about a customer coming to your website, the only thing they have to judge off of is the first beat that's playing and the picture you use on the side and the name. So that's a heavy decision to make. Then I guess now I understand the weight of your question. But I think, once again, I go back to what is the specific goal that you have for where you're trying to approach these records. That may alter the way you name them. But if you're sending stuff off through emails and people already trust your work, it won't matter really what you name them. They trust your work already.
Awesome, man. And I'd hate to make people feel uncomfortable. I saw you hop in here. Hey, our new friend with the red lipstick back there. What's your name? Let everybody know who you are.
I'm Iris, and I just started vocal teaching or vocal lessons here.
Oh. Here at Love and Laughter Studios? Yes. Awesome. Iris?
Iris, that's Dutch. I-R-I-S.
I-R-I-S. Oh, Iris. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a D in there. Iris. Okay. Iris. Okay, awesome. And is this Aunt Breeze? Oh, Josh. I thought you came with a different look today. Okay, never mind. That's Josh up front as well. Just, you know, when I see new faces, I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But I had a thing to add to the song names, and that is, like they said, you're thinking of a product name and a brand and how people can resonate with certain titles. Like if you're going for the luxurious result, again, we spoke about what is a brand. What is the ultimate reason you're here? You want a result, and you believe that we have created those results, and you're trying to achieve those results through what we tell you. So the same thing goes with your product. People are trying to achieve a result. So the more you focus on the result and the outcome, it's just like money. We're not getting money just to have money. We're getting money to live a freedom lifestyle. That's the ultimate result. So when you start speaking to people's expectations of where they want, to go with the thing. Money's just a means to an end, or that product's just a means to an end. We could speak a little bit more on that. But I wanted to say that you can do your song titling that way. That's a smart way to do it. Kind of make it, almost like a headline. And in my opinion, what I like to do a little bit more so is to give them the hook I actually hear on the song, so that when they're listening to it, they're actually hearing those words. Because I've had people come to me saying, that song named, like Drake's Real or something. I would make up like a title, and that's all they hear for the hook is real, because they don't have any direction. They don't have that vocal demo added to it. They're just hearing music. And again, a lot of artists don't have that creative hook writing ability. So that word is literally being that voice for them. So
you gotta be careful nowadays, because rappers will look at that title and make a song out of something that was just random in your mind, and you'll get a song back like, "Where's the vocals at?" And I said, "The vocals are on there. I just named it what you named it." That's one of the most annoying things. Is like I made, and that's partly my fault though. Is that I'll be watching TV and say I see Ric Flair, and then a commercial comes on for like, I don't know, Neutrogena, and then it becomes like Neutrogena Flair. And then you get a rapper that comes back like, "Oh, Neutrogena Flair swag." Like, really? Like, that's not what I was looking for when I sent that to you.
Oh, no, it's a little wavy.
Yeah. I said it might work, but you gotta. That's part of it too. Is that this could very well end up being the hook of that song, and sometimes that's a scary thought. I wouldn't want nobody to send me back a beat that I named, turquoise Chargers, and it's like
that happens more than often. Like a lot of times, I'll get the hook back and it's whatever I named the beat. I kind of like it. Yeah. I just had to stop putting my name like after the title, because I get back mad songs called The Oracle, and I'm like, nah, pimp, you can't use that. Use the other part.
Awesome, man. And now that we're talking about the creativity and concept, let's talk about, speaking about how to build a product. You don't have to give all the secrets away, Postman, because Postman's good. I'll give you 3 secrets today, but the rest. I love you, man. He's a good man. I'm just teasing him. But, how do we take a concept? Again, I was speaking the other days about it's more than a product. We can have, the same leather shoes made in the factory in Italy. Gucci has their manufacturer there, but I can make another shoe called
Poochie.
Poochie, is that a curse word somewhere? Is it Tucci somethings?
Myself. I was going somewhere else.
A different name. Have your own company out of that. Using the same material, same exact product, but what's the difference? It's the brand. That's what separates the product from other products. So, again, that's the goal. The Music Producer Mastermind meeting is about multiplying your music business. How do you do that? You do that by identifying your brand. We spoke about this in day 1, day 3. I feel like we reiterated it so much that, it's kind of like beating a dead horse for us, but for everybody watching, I want to kind of break that down. What do you believe about brand? What do you believe about how to separate your product from the next man, or even how to just stand out?
Okay, so what I teach, so you talk about product, we're talking about beats, just in case anybody, we label every beat as a product, right? Because you're selling it. So basically the product, I'm not saying it's irrelevant. You got to have a great product, but at the highest level, everybody has great products. So what a brand really is the person's perception of you, your company, and how they feel about it. And so that's what a lot of times producers we kind of mix up, because we think it's just about them hearing the beat. But actually, if they see your brand and that you resonate with the same type of message that they believe in, and that's what's important, is that you have the same message that they believe in. So if I was a trap producer, I give this example. If I was just making trap beats, right? I already know the psychology a lot of times of trap artists. They're talking about the hustle. They're talking about the grind. They're talking about the come up, the how to make it and getting money, right? And wealth and stuff like that. So I'm going to make my brand, my messaging, talking about, it's about grinding. It's about, it's about getting up and putting that time in, that work. And they're going to see that on the messaging on my site. They're going to see it when they hear me speak. That's all I'm going to be focusing on, because then they're going to connect with that. Now, I do a lot of R&B. So I'm not going to be talking about that to R&B artists. My brand, what we're going to talk about is passion. We're going to talking about music. We're going to be talking about singing. We're talking about how people feel when they hear your artistry, because that's what R&B artists is more about, right? They're more sensitive. So we're going to talk about different things, and so they're going to feel like this is a home for them. So that's what your beat site or your music production company has to be, a home for a specific type of people. And that's where a lot of producers, I think right now they go wrong because they're just for everybody and they're really for nobody. But there's too many producers today to do that. We can't go by the model of maybe, 10 years ago where you can just be an all-around producer coming up, because there weren't that many producers. But there's literally hundreds of thousands and millions of producers now worldwide, and we're all online. So you have to find your niche, what you're great at, what you love, and build your brand around that and attract those clientele. And then they're going to come to you not because you have the best beats. They're going to come to you because they know, like, and trust you. And you can charge 10 times more than what somebody else charged, and they'll still come to you because it's not just about the dollar amount. It's about the fact that they know, like, and trust you.
I was going to say that as bars. Something that was given to me, or what I read about 2 months ago. The reason why sometimes we as producers get so confused when it comes to terms like brand and marketing is because we don't have any kind of emotional connection to them, right? They're just very stale words that can mean something different to you than they mean to you. So what the author said was replace the word brand with reputation. And in this age, replace the word content with message. So instead of I got to create more content, I got to create more messages. Well, what is a message? When you say I got to create more content could be anything. Content could be Instagram. It could be Twitter. It can be YouTube videos. It can be, a meme picture. Replace content with message and replace brand with reputation, because at the end of the day, it's just your reputation. I think the problem initially a lot of producers have when it comes to, and I had the same thing, when it comes to your brand is we immediately say brand. I need a logo. I need a color. I need a style of beats, and that's where it ends. And that's just like, that's the very bare basics of that, It's like, imagine making a cake with just the eggs and then the batter, and you're like, I got a pot and an oven. Yeah, we ready. No, we're not ready. That's not a cake, fam. So I think with branding, a big issue I had was trying to be everything for everybody, because it was like I didn't want to cut off any possible money flows or any possible connections. But the people that I've seen win over the years, are the ones who were like, look, I'm a boom bap producer. This is what I do. I know what age we're in, so I'll make it work in this day and age, but I am who I am. The ones I see that struggle the most are the ones who were like, I really like boom bap, but I know everybody's on trap, so I better go this direction. But then the day that J. Cole comes out with an entire album of boom bap records, now what are your clientele looking for? The thing that was your bread and butter. So I'm not saying don't adjust to the times. I'm saying do it in a way where I feel like one of the most masterful people at that is Jay-Z, to where he'll find a way to say, I'm not trying to compete with you in your lane, but I'll do a Magna Carta full of nothing but trap beats, but I'll do it in a way where you understand the difference between me and somebody else doing this. One of my mentors early on, Glass Malone, used to tell me, he said, sometimes you being so talented can be a liability to you. Because you get in situations where people don't want to, connect with you, or where you end up doing more than you need to do. You need to just dumb it down. He was like, what you got to do sometimes where everybody's running that race and you running fast as you are, slow it down, run the race with them. And they're like, what you doing over here? That's crazy. I didn't even know you ran this race. And then just speed off whenever you want to do that. Kendrick is doing that every single album we see. The moment you think like, oh, he's super conscious, then you get humble. And it's like, wait a minute. Over a mic? Well, maybe. Really? He's running at his own pace, but it feels like, he's going back and forth. Joyner Lucas is doing that with like the Gucci, like, what is the Lil Pump song? Like Gucci Gang, like he's doing the same thing. He's showing you like, okay, this is what it is. I'm still a rapper. I'm not going to stop rapping. By nature, he is a lyricist. So I think it's the same thing with producers. If you know what your sound is and what you love, if you love Rhodes, just like Postman was saying, even though that's a sound of really like the mid 2000s and whatnot, he just told you, add movement to it, and all of a sudden you are back here relevant with the times. But you just have to be the one that notices that before anybody else, because most people are just not going to tell you. So when you're looking at that, don't abandon. That's your brand. That's what you have to stand on. I got a homie named Trez. He's been doing West Coast gangster music since he came into the game. And there was a time where they were like, you got to change that up, man. Nobody going to listen to that. Now he has a loyal fan base who were looking for that the entire time. And now that because music happens in cycles. Once the game swung back, guess who is now the pioneer of this new generation of that sound? Just because he stuck to it. So I think when it comes to branding, a lot of that has to do with your commitment to your reputation.
So awesome, Chris.
Indeed.
I was going to say, can you share some experience from your illustrious career about how you separated yourself from, people who thought they were in common, or, ways to really be different?
Well, just like he said, you just got to stay in your lane and know what you do, because it's to me, it's like everything is feelings, you know what I mean? So even if everybody's using these sounds or whatever, or everyone's trying to sound the same way, I'm going to have my feeling with it, you know what I mean? So if everybody wants to bounce, I'll give them something to bounce to, but it ain't going to sound like everybody else's. You got to narrow it down. And just to touch on what you said, is like, when everybody is trying to please everybody, you get nowhere. You know what I mean? And as you said, it's reputation in your message. If you feel like somebody, I'm just doing people don't want to feel like you're just doing anything to get their money. You know what I mean? It's like, why do I want to mess with you? Oh, this week you're doing that. It happens to producers all the time. You see, they have their thing. You see them reach out a little too far. It's good to grow a little bit. It's good to, reach out, because we are creative. We can't do the same thing over and over. We get bored if you really, in it for the art. You know what I mean? But you don't go too far where it's like, what is this person doing? You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't believe them anymore. I don't believe them any. They desperate. You hear it all the time. Oh, they desperate. Like, what they doing?
Reaching.
They're reaching. Yeah, Golden Arm Award.
And you know who you see. You see when I see Kanye get on songs with Alex Luger, it feels like he brings something out of them. That's where you see the producer in him.
Right.
So where you're like, why are these choirs on this ratchet beat? Oh, because Kanye's in that room.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I like choirs. I like sampling. You know what? For this Big Sean sample, we're gonna put some Earth, Wind and Fire. Was it Earth, Wind and Fire that was on the beginning of that? I don't know with you.
Nah, it was.
What was that? That was the intro to that.
It was.
It'll come to me. Mother's Finest. I don't know. We'll work it out.
Yeah, but but the fact that he made that decision to do that, that's I'm not to take away from what you're saying, but that
it's all the
exactly
same thing.
Makes
you got to put your. I mean, even when you look at like a Michael Jackson, he's been on all types of music, but that's Michael. He has a distinction to where he's going to do something, and that's the key to it. It's like you can do other things and you can move around, but you have something distinctive about you, as you said, what Kanye does. You know what I mean? And that's what it's really about. It's like, don't try to do it just like that other person. Say, how can I do it with my integrity where I feel good about it? You know what I mean?
Awesome. And speaking on the brand aspect, I hate to make it so vanilla, but we said this, a couple of days ago. Branding is about, lowering the trust threshold. I'm sure everybody who was here before understands. Imagine the mic this time, so I don't have to put the mic down. The mic is where people are, and this is where they'll agree. So the peak of the mic is where they'll agree. This is the required amount of trust, their trust threshold. The point of branding is to lower the threshold so that you get below the point of their agreement. And that's where exchange occurs. And that's where all these intangible things we're going to talk about come into play, like trust factors, language, what's the word you said? Relevance to the message, like if they're reaching. What's another way to describe that? Believability, product naming, does it really talk to that market? And RJ said this before. That's why he named his company Track God. He's like, what was your kind of point on that? Just real quick, if you had something on top of your head. He said track guy because that's what people want to be. They want to be a track guy. That's what you said. I want producers to feel like they're gods of producing. Right. Yeah, and that's their ultimate goal.
And it won't be too far from what you already do because it's your passion. Like, you make sure that you land on something for your branding. It better be something you love because you in a committed relationship. You can rebrand, absolutely, but it's still gonna look a lot like the original thing. Did you see how angry people got when Coca-Cola decided to change the logo on their cans? People were outraged. They were like, we're boycotting. Really? I just changed the font a little bit. That's how strong their branding is. So when you find something and you decide that's your thing, I remember there was one time where I was like, I'm gonna be known as a rapper that likes cougars. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna brand myself as that. Everybody gonna know me at least for that. Because it's really, when you think about branding, you think about rappers and you think about people who are famous, there's at least one thing that you can attach to them. Oh, that's that one rapper that, especially nowadays, Oh, that's that one. I forget. It's Boom Gang or something like that, where he goes into a shop or a donut shop and he'll take it and he'll run out. Really? Where can I find that? Instagram. And that becomes the new introduction. And I'm not saying that's the way you want to go, but I'm saying that becomes the branding. I hope you don't go in there stealing no donuts from Windows. But that becomes sort of, because of the attention span, and there's so many different, things vying for your potential listener or buyer's attention. Now you have to simplify that message even more to where it's like, I'm this producer, I make these beats. For me, I'm Curtis King, my beats bang, my drums bang. I built my even my drum kits, Big Drums Knock Volume 1, Big Drums Knock Volume 2, because I knew what people wanted from me. They didn't want Curtis King R&B beats or drums. That's not what they wanted. That's not what I'm known for. But they know them snares and them kicks are going to come in, right? And even to the point where it was even distorted. That's what they wanted. So just understanding and knowing that when you choose whatever it is, you can alter certain things, but you cannot alter the foundation of that. Stick by that. So you want to make sure it's something that I always say comes easy to you, but more difficult to others. Like you may be passionate about, like I was super passionate about nostalgic TV shows like Fresh Prince and Martin and Nickelodeon. And I was like, that was a big part of my brand. And once I connected with that, there was a subculture of people waiting to be activated because I made the decision to just start talking to them. And I would do that for fun, not even for a brand. Like I said, take the Manila out of that situation. It's really, what do you love so much that you would do it for free and forever? And now you have an opportunity to monetize it.
I have a few branding tips. When it comes to branding, as important as a brand is, and I'm what you would call a hybrid brand. I'm a personal brand, but I'm also a business. That's something totally different. But when it comes to branding, I never overthink it. What my brand is one part crowd control or just leading people. Sound Oracle. Sound, you know what you're getting right there. Oracle, who's that? Somebody that the greatest people go to for something. It shows you right there. The tagline on the site, be different, be dope. 2 reasons why that's my tagline. Number one, it's a guideline for myself. You know what I mean? I can't be the same and be lame. You feel me? If I'm saying be different, be dope, I gotta be different. I gotta be dope. Like it's as simple as that. And also it was a way for me. I want to do what I want to do. I don't really care what's going on. So be different. How you be different? Just do what you want to do. You know what I mean? So my brand is also all my favorite things that I like to do that everybody else, like X amount of people said, yo, I love that. Yo, the way you wore that hat, that was dope. The way you did this, that was dope. The way you used that thing. I love seeing the videos the way you use the thing. People can help you. If you're starting your brand out, just look for those things that everybody likes. There's certain things that you're going to do that 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, they all going to comment on that thing. It's part of your brand. And you're not going to have a problem doing it because it's something that you like to do and something that you will get at in the first place. So, like you were saying, make sure whatever you're doing, you there and you committed. Because the worst thing that you could do is blow up doing something that you don't like doing. Because now, that's you. Hey, cowboy hat producer, that's you. You should know what a hat, cuz.
Pharrell, shout out.
No, I think that the key word they're saying is authenticity. People feel that, and you feel it yourself. And it's like he's been authentic to who he is. And everybody, and sometimes it takes us kind of going out the way and doing something crazy, and then we like, wait a minute, this don't even feel right. And then, so really to me, out of all the producers that we've helped that live off beats, I've discovered that the ones that are successful is really a self-discovery journey. So all of us are producers, but it's deeper than that. We're all on this self-discovery journey, find out who we are, and that starts to come out in your music, actually, and it'll come out in your brand. So it's something natural. Like you say, you don't want to overthink it, but you want to start looking at yourself and saying, what do I like? What do I stand for? You know, what type of music do I like making? And then you'll start to naturally start building your brand around that.
Awesome. And that's why we did the exercise. You know, when you called out your name and I said, call out one word that describes your brand. Okay. So these are things that you need to get in the habit of doing. You know, how is it that I went from nothing, literally in my mom's extra bedroom, to maybe 3.5 years later talking to billion-dollar companies? How am I stepping in that room when I have no credentials in the industry? I'm not as, fortified in that world. How is that I can step into meetings with these very powerful people? You know, it's about the brand. And I'm going to give you a couple more things about brand that I believe are super essential. One is if you're building your brand from scratch and you're trying to do the independent thing, that's kind of like what the whole underlying theme is, independence. you have to build a system of distribution. So we went into really complex stuff yesterday, Postman, about like, when do you do your own distribution versus distribution deals where you leverage somebody else's audience at a cost. So it's very complex, the decision making you're gonna have to make. But again, where was I going with that? I don't know. What was I talking about 2 seconds ago?
Branding.
Different types of branding. Distribution. Okay. So distribution is what you need to build. This is, again, I don't mean to be vulgar, but this is what separates the dime dealer on the corner from the kingpin living out on the island, It's because they've secured various avenues of distribution. One reason I have my friends up here is because they all have their own communities. Okay, so bringing them in to share knowledge, we're collabing. I was saying with Trizza, we're creating that Power Ranger, that Mighty Morphing, whatever it's called, Power Ranger. And, I can reach their communities now because we're going to be spreading this message to the world. And the same with them. They're now going to be seen with our community.
And we're like minds as well. You just can't connect with everybody. So that's why it works.
I agree. And I'm glad you brought up integrity. Yeah. Because, again, why would I ever deal with Razer Music if I never used a Razer or a PC or a laptop and I didn't believe in the Thunderbolt 3 and I didn't believe that? If I didn't believe it, I would never take the deal. I never do. What makes a man is integrity. And you have to have solid integrity or else, I don't consider you sincere. And I think we can all sense that because we are of that cloth of integrity and authority. So, we can go on a diatribe about that, but
don't chase the money for that because you will pay a bigger price for taking that check for something that you don't believe in. Whether you got to sacrifice your career on the other end of that, don't go chasing the money in that situation thinking like, yeah, you know what? I'll front like I use this product for a little bit and collect this money. Do not. I've seen some horrible train wrecks of stories of people doing that, really being accessible to everybody. And then when those phone calls stop ringing, they got nobody to blame but themselves.
And we mentioned, again, everything happened like a couple of days ago with Trizza when he was here. Your product is bigger than the song and the music. It's your brand. Excuse me, I meant to say your brand. I apologize. Your brand, I'm sorry, is bigger than your song and your music. You're using your music to project your brand. The way you think about music, in my opinion, should be a medium to convey a message. Okay, it's like an advertisement. It's just like your phone or your laptop. These are all different mediums to convey a message. The more you start thinking of your music as a medium to convey a message, the more you're going to see it as a bigger brand. Why do you think, Lil Pump probably got endorsed by Gucci? Or who's some rappers with endorsements? Lil Yachty got endorsed by Skittles. Because he probably, his colorful hair and whatnot. Nautica? Lil
I think that's the power of somebody coming through with an audience. But then, too, the flip side of that is, as great as that may look, oh, my God, all these brands are vying for my audience and vying for my attention. Walk with hesitation because literally they are paying you for your hard work and your particular connection and reputation amongst your group that they're trying to basically buy the authenticity that you had to earn along your way. So sometimes those checks will look crazy, but ask yourself, like, if I'm getting offered that now, I know I have the ability to not only create that, but there's probably somebody else who's more genuine about it. Because there's brands that email me all the time. Oh, could you plug this in your videos? No. We'll pay you this X amount of dollars. No. Because what I have built with my audience is a lot more important integrity-wise than any check you give me. If I do that one time, now every time I do another Curspiration, they are not going to believe. They don't know whether or not I'm telling them solid advice or whether somebody cut me a check to give them the advice about the stuff that I stand by.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point, is that, again, it comes back to the relevance. I forget the believability aspect. It's why are they coming to you? This is what we hope to build for you, is that you attract business. You shouldn't be chasing business down. Instead of chasing 350 friends, talk to the one friend, the one vertical relationship. Again, this is kind of like day 2, day 3 stuff, but talk to the vertical relationship who can exponentially grow your business versus chasing down one by one 350 people. We'll get into all this stuff, and I know I shotgun all my ideas at once, but the point is, believability. I'm losing my train of thought. Kind of backtrack a bit.
You cooking.
Authenticity. Oh, again, they're trying. Why are they coming to you? It's because they're trying to speak to a certain audience, a community they can't access. Okay, just like I can't access your communities unless we somehow collab or have some dealings and we believe that we have a resonating message. And that's how you multiply yourself exponentially. So these companies come to us, and why are they offering us thousands of dollars to talk about their thing in one video? Okay, I don't even accept certain deals. So they're trying to lower that brand, that trust threshold by speaking through you, because people believe in you. So your threshold, you knock the threshold way down here for the people they're trying to talk to, and that's their way of buying their way in, as you said, to lower that threshold. So I wanted to speak on distribution just real quick. Is when you have power over communication, the fact that me and Chris could just sit here and talk. He has my number, directly. I can speak to Chris directly. That's the power of distribution. I don't have to talk to John, who's going to talk to Chris. Even talking to Jay, who's behind the camera. Sometimes I have a message to get to Kevin, and it's like I feel like there's a delay in that message, or it can get distorted. I'm sure you played the game. Was it Whisper Down the Lane? Telephone. You tell one person one thing to your right, they tell the next person that that thing, and it gets distorted and changed over time naturally because we don't pay attention to details most likely. So the quicker you can speak directly to your audience and your narrow target audience, that's the power. And literally, we've created this from at BusyWorks Beats. And we as ourselves are creators of bringing nothing into something, and delivering on our purpose and helping other people reach their destiny as well. But again, I have full control. I don't have to wait for some label or some bigger company to tell me it's a go. I can just do it whenever I want and create value as fast as I can. And that's, again, why we had the seminar. And I made up my mind in 2 days that we're just going to throw a music producer mastermind meeting, literally in 2 days. I wish you saw the back end with the ticketing and all that. That's why Sincere has this ticket even. You want to show everybody the ticket, man? Just to show how in-depth it was before. But I got rid of the ticketing. I got rid of all this stuff. He's VIP Platinum, by the way. And Serge is VIP as well. There it is. We had a whole ticket system. And so I shotgunned this thing. I had to learn a whole system in one night in order to make this happen. And it ended up, I ditched it anyway. But so, how can you take chaos and bring it into order? That's what I'm trying to... that's what we're trying to show you. Go ahead.
Who here is on the Live Off Beats email list? Just show of hands. I got anybody here? Okay, so I've had that list since 2007, right? And the reason why, YouTube and all that stuff is good. We all use YouTube. But the reason why I've been successful and been around for so long and made a lot of money. Has anybody ever heard of Trauma Drums? I don't know if you guys were around that long ago. Trauma Drums. Okay, so I was behind that. That was my company. And anybody ever heard of LuxuryLoops.com? Okay, that's my company as well. So, and a couple of others. So reason why I was able to build everything is because we had email lists. I built email lists to contact my audience instantly without no middleman. And the way that I was able to build all these other brands is because I was able to push other brands that I built through my distribution and right to my consumer. And so that's what I taught music producers to do with your beat sites. And I always taught you build email lists. Yeah, that's cool that you may be selling $10,000 worth of beats a month or maybe $2,000. But if you're not capturing your prospects, people that are coming there and not buying from you, then you don't really have nothing sustainable. So what you have to do is make sure you're following up. And a lot of producers are scared of this. They hit me up and they say, hey, man, should I followed up once every 2 weeks? I say, no, man, if you don't live off Beats List, you probably get hit almost every day sometimes with promotions. And sometimes it's with content, with value. So you got to stay on top of your audience. And if you're a producer, stay on top of your artists, give them valuable content, always contacting them. You're building that relationship, and they may not buy a beat from you today because they may not be in the market for it. But then maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month down the road, that's when they're going to purchase a beat from you. And so that's why you always got to, like he said, distribution, always be in control of your communication and how you speak to your audience. So that's my advice.
And we got to, as producers, and I speak for myself too, we have to get out of the studio. We got to show our face more. We spend a lot of time not getting no sunlight, which means you're missing on very vital nutrients that you need every day. But aside from that, you ever wonder why somebody is more willing to buy from somebody who has a picture of themselves, a close-up picture, than a logo? Because you can't identify with a logo immediately. You can't have a human connection with a logo. You know, once people start to, and that's something I learned, especially with my branding. It's important that I have to show face. There have been times where, you know, I'll make when I tried to go the route of doing, you know, what you murdered was the on-screen tutorial. They're not there for that. They're there to see, Curtis, talk to me, man. What's up? Like, what's going on? Like, talk to me as if I'm sitting here in front of you. So, you know, really when it comes to getting out there and, like you said, generating these connections within the email, talk to them like human beings and less like numbers. Not, what's going on, y'all? No, I'm not y'all when I'm getting this email. I'm just me. You know, so whatever coding you got to figure out, whatever you're using like a GET response or you're using like a MailChimp, figure out how to use their first name. Make sure they're filling out their first name. Treat them as human beings and less like numbers, and you'll have these connections to where there was times where, you know, and another benefit from getting your head out the studio is that when you're seeing the news of things that are going on that are affecting your entire community, because that's what it is. For instance, when SoundCloud was looking like it was getting ready to shut down, I was like, I'm going to send an email blast. I'm not trying to sell you nothing. Y'all need to know that SoundCloud might be shutting down because a majority of my audience buys my beats and goes to SoundCloud. So then immediately I sent an email. I said, SoundCloud might be shutting down. The open rate was ridiculous. More than any email that I said where it was like, I got 3 new beats. That's what y'all here for. But me doing that got me more of a conversation between my email list, and it's no longer just numbers. Now it's like, you're looking out for me. There wasn't no call to action at the end. I mean, maybe just CurtisKingBeats.com, but it wasn't anything that said this is gimmicky for you to open up the email. That kind of conversation comes with being comfortable with yourself and being comfortable to step out the studio. And I think that that's what's going to represent the next evolution of the next generation of producers is going to be those producers who are like, I know by nature, I said in my book, I know by nature, we're weird by nature. You know, we speak in reverberating parables and all these crazy stuff, parametric equalizer. I talk to my lady sometimes. She like, you talking that producer talk again. Could you stop it? And I'll be like, I'm sorry, babe. But that's the thing about it is that, you know, we're so obsessed with being successful in this one thing. Game said it perfect. That's just one representation of the bigger picture of what you are. And I think that that's something I always try to help producers, especially with my videos, is making sure that you find that confidence in yourself to say, not only should I be in this room, I worked my tail off to be here and I deserve to be here. And not from an arrogant standpoint, but just know your value and then approach things from that. Because when I first started, I wanted so badly to be an ambassador of a brand. Not so much when I'm 32, 33, and I got a young son on the way, and I'm like, I want to build my business. I want to give him something. So really pay attention to what you are desiring because it'll shift over time. I promise you. From 22 to 24, it shifted. 24 to 26, it shifted. 26 to 30, it dramatically shifted. So, you know.
Yeah, I want to touch in on that. Like you said, you definitely have to get out. You definitely have to get out the studio. You got to connect with people and be part of the community, not just online, but offline too. You know what I mean? And I think that's a fact that a lot of people overlooked. I mean, like even back in the days, you had Pete Rock and Large Professor and Q-Tip record shopping together. You know what I mean? So many people know each other outside the studio that we don't even realize or even hear about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't get yourself in a bubble and become like a studio rat for years. You got to get out, go to this thing like what y'all doing and coming out here, connecting with people. That's way more important than a lot of producers realize. You know what I mean? You have to be a personality. You have to be out there, you know, being part of the community, you know, as I said, and just really networking, not just like, oh, I could get this from this person. Like, yo, who am I really vibing with? You know what I mean? You know, and I keep saying that a lot because you have people who obviously know that they don't fit my brand or I wouldn't like anything, but they hit me up. I'm like, why are you even hitting me? Like, I don't represent what you represent. Why are you even wasting your time? You know what I mean? So, you know, get out there, start meeting people and connect with people who's showing you the mutual attention. You know what I mean? Don't chase anybody. You can't fake a relationship. It has to be organic. You know what I mean? But it's you know, that's a key point that a lot of us miss. You know, I've done panels before, and many times people look at the people on the panel as the person that's going to help them, but it's usually the person sitting right next to you that's going to change your life if y'all connect and y'all vibe. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't know that if you were just sitting in the studio waiting for some artist to come by or hoping somebody. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to touch on that subject. You know, definitely get out.
Can I share just one technique that helped me get out the studio? Look up the Pomodoro technique. Sounds crazy. Look at the Pomodoro technique. Basically, it's intervals of time where you have to walk out of the studio and look at the life around you. Because I don't know if you got kids or younger brothers or family. They're growing up out there while you in there working on beats. You going in, getting it done because you got a bigger goal to take care of them. And meanwhile, their life is still going on. And meanwhile, on the other side of those walls with those 808s, is somebody that's got a painful headache because you're looking for the right key of that 808. So, Pomodoro technique is just simply this. Work 25 minutes, focus, and feverishly don't check your social media. 5 minutes, take a break, walk out the studio, stop the music. Another 25 minutes, go back in. 5-minute break. If you got to set it on your timer on your phone, do it. After the third interval, take a 30-minute break and then go back in. What's going to happen is this. You're going to be frustrated because you don't have enough time to really get into your beat. But what's going to happen is every time you come back, you're going to come back fresh. And it's going to feel like you're collaborating with a new producer every single time. You may come back after a 25-minute interval and say, this loop is trash. Let's do the whole thing over again. But I tell you, I did this one time and it was a challenge. I hated it when I was in a group of other producers. We did this. And in 4 hours, because we had 2-day session, in 4 hours, we got more work than we did the day before in a 10-hour session. And it sounds so backwards to take breaks, but that's literally, if you do that and you walk out, you come back in with a fresh focus, like, what am I doing here? Because how many times you sit there in front of a loop over and over and you're like, this is jamming, let me check my Twitter. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, did you hear that so-and-so just want to, oh, that's crazy. Be still playing. Your ears are fatiguing while you think that you just vibing, your ears are fatiguing. So, take those steps. Don't be afraid to walk away. Go see what's going on in the other room. Talk to your people and then go back in there. That balance is going to be good, not only just for your business, but for your health as well.
I'm always about the gyms. Pomodoro timers on Apple iTunes. I use them all the time. Every task I do. I'm pretty sure they're in the Google Play Store as well. When you're doing stuff on your computer, stop checking your social media. Get a Chrome or Mozilla extension called Momentum. You won't be able to do that.
Awesome, man. And we're gonna kind of segue into relationships because that's the science. Puneet, you gotta go? Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I gotta get. Oh man, this man flew in from Canada. Let's give him a round of applause. Flew in from Canada to come see us today. That's awesome. Peace out, brother. Keep smiling. All right, I'll catch you, man. Good luck.
Tell Drake I said what's up.
Tell Drake.
If I meet him, for sure I'll see.
Peace out. Do we have new friends in the back there? Just slid on in silently. What's going on? I would like to introduce you to everybody else. I hate to make people feel uncomfortable and stand off from everybody else. So would you just shout out your name and just kind of let everybody know who you are?
Thank you. I'm
Jan. Jan, like Y-O-N.
Yeah.
Oh, Jan.
Like
Okay.
J-A-N.
J-A. Oh, okay. Jan. What's going on, Jan?
Not too much.
And I gave this exercise earlier, and that's, could you give us one word? If I thought Jan, what one word would I tie to you as your identity? Just one word. Terrific. Came here. Dapper Dan back there, Jan. Awesome, man. And I don't want to be rude with your friend as well.
Hi, I'm Becca.
Becca, hey. Which one word people think about when they see Becca? Besides fantastic.
I would hope to think very, very excited.
Excited about life, you said? And blessed. So excited and blessed. So you just exchanged for Puneet's energy. He's super excited all the time. Thank you for joining us. Without you sitting here with us, this would not exist. So I always take treasure in that. So thank you for joining us. And I want to speak on the power of association, which is who you associate with and affiliate yourself with. That can literally be a decision for somebody. Like, I wouldn't have them up here if I didn't believe their brand message and their business and their integrity was solid. I would not ever bring somebody up here who I didn't trust, ever. Because people who look at them and make that judgment, they also put that on me. And that could mess up your vertical relationship. When we talk about scaling up. In short, I'm going to kind of be long-winded about it, but horizontal, networking is speaking to your peers And you do that to create a product. You're not looking to get resources like from vertical relationships or get scaled up like vertical relationships, as Crucial said. It's more about building a product and leveraging other people's, money or other people's relationships, other people's things. That's the whole point. Assets, access. Goodness. So, that's the way you need to think originally. Horizontal networking. Then you scale it up with vertical networking. That's why we came here, flew out, spent $15,000 to put the seminar on and fly out and get a hotel. I didn't spend that for nothing. I met up with a lady who literally talks to CEOs of like crazy companies, hundreds of millions and billion-dollar companies, and she knows everybody. And she met Sound Oracle, and I introduced them as well. And Caroline,
Very
shout
good
out to
friend
Caroline. She knows everybody. Like, she knows everybody. That's a vertical relationship to me. Somebody I can talk to who knows about everything and is about scaling and multiplying your growth. So I would never come to her without a product, without something we've created that actually works. Because the whole point in building a product is to know it works. Then you scale it up. Trizza talked about this before. But before we talk about products and all the scaling and networking, let's talk about relationships. Because Postman spoke about, sending you emails every day. It's to build a relationship, and there's fine fibers between relationships. And I love talking about romantic relationships because most people can, identify with that. So, the girl, we said this a couple of days ago, but the girl you want, her trust threshold is, again, way up here, and she's down here, meaning this is her yes point. Okay, so it requires you to knock down all these objections, all these things she fears about you until you get to the point where she can agree to even spend time with you. So let's talk about relationships. I mean, there's so many aspects to relationships, and relationships are beautiful. And that's why we can all come here literally in a 2-day notice, figure out how to create value for the producer community in 2 days, turning chaos into order. So what do you have on relationships? We're going to keep it open, just any things you learned in the past year.
Not in the past year, but just since I started. The reason why I didn't see any success early on, other than just not having any business about myself, I had no relationships. I'm a lone wolf by nature, super introverted, and I was good at what I did. So it wasn't a need to always bring people in. I figured the more people I need to bring in, that meant the less I was. Nah, you could be the greatest. Teamwork makes the dream work. As corny and cliche as it sounds, you bring people in, you leverage those relationships. Like Busy said, they're gonna develop audiences, even if they don't have audience. They're gonna have access to things that you won't have access to. The more people you have around you in your circle, the more credible people you have around you in your circle, you will grow exponentially. All of my success is based on relationships. I get maybe about 3 major placements a year without trying. I don't look for placements ever, but I have relationships, and my friends get placements, and they call me, working on such and such. God, boom, got you. Working on such and such, got you. I haven't sought out a placement in years. And when I stopped seeking them out and started focusing on my relationships, guess what came? Mad placements. That is the power of relationships.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'll tell you this, something that was important for me to learn about relationships is that it's not just with the people that you look up to and you're looking and you're saying, oh, this person can do something for me or they got some kind of a following. The best relationships that I had were the ones that first started off in a very genuine place and started off with people who I would never think they have any connection to the music business. Then all of a sudden, a homegirl of mine who went to UCLA says, I'm braiding Snoop's hair right now and I'm playing your record. And I would have never thought, like, let me give the homegirl my demo because she might be I didn't think like that. I wasn't thinking like that, right? And so it changed the way that I thought about relationships to where I said, as human beings, forget the industry right now. As human beings, we shouldn't have tiers of respect for different people. I learned that from my mom. My mom will talk to the guy that's, getting ready to park our car like he's royalty, and I learned from that in a very young age is that you treat everybody with that equal respect, especially, if they're giving you that respect back. Obviously, people have to earn a certain level of your trust and your respect, but really you treat everybody upon face value with the respect, just your level of respect, your general respect. And there's been so many times where, like you said, I don't have to go chase things. I'm getting phone calls because they're like, I know somebody's perfect for this, Curtis. Let me get them on the phone. Yo, Curtis, can you? Yes, I got it. I'll take care of it. So, those relationships also too, for those of you with that desire to do sort of hand-in-hand business with other independent rappers or even rappers that you think are not worthy enough to rap over your beats, I'm going to tell you, once again, there's been times where this rapper may not be the best lyricist, but they got money and they'll get into any studio situation or they just know how to talk. And then once again, yo, I'm playing Dom Kennedy some of your beats right now. Which one you think I should play first? Wait, what? But you were the customer that came to me and said, what's your price, Curtis? I'll pay you that. I'll pay you interest. Just take care of me. Make sure that you're honest with me. Don't resell my beat. But I think that kind of those relationships are the most important. Just treating everyone that you come across. Now, everybody's not worthy of the same respect, obviously, because some people are just disrespectful, and you're gonna have to let them be where they're at, and they're not worthy of that energy and consuming your energy. But I give everybody a fair chance. And there have been situations where people have done me dirty. But I'll tell you, the majority of time, what I learned is that on a more spiritual level, you attract sort of what your inner instinct or your inner demeanor, your inner wants are. So if you got a thirst that's inside, you're going to attract thirsty people. So you ever had a situation where you were like, man, I got to get some money. I got to get some money. Then you meet somebody that's a bigger money shark than you. You're like, man, now I'm out of money because he got my money. So I try to make sure that I check my own thoughts first before I walk into a situation. Like when I meet people that I look up to, like even like Sound Oracle. I've been hearing about Sound Oracle for years. And I've looked up to this brother. I looked up to Timbaland. But I said, when I meet individuals, I want you to be like, I vibe with Curtis. Not that he wants something from me. Because I think that's the worst thing is when you meet somebody that, here's my rule. When I meet somebody that I've been wanting to meet all my life, I never ask them for something the first time. Because in my mind, I know that I'm going to see you again in this industry if I'm doing my job. How many times have I came across the same artist over and over again? Like, what are you doing over in Miami? Oh, well, I just keep moving. I'm just working. I did meet you at that one party at what so-and-so. But I think a lot of times we get in this mentality like, oh, I got to give them everything right now. Here's my demo. Here's my social media. Follow me. What's your number? And that's just way too much. And I've seen more relationships built off of very casual conversations. I remember I had a casual conversation with Ant from Atmosphere, the producer for Atmosphere. And I said, you know what? Instead of trying to get him to vibe with my beats, I'm going to make him laugh. And he was like, how's his touring been? I said, it's cool, man. The hardest thing is finding a clean pair of drawers. And he was in tears. Saw him at Paid Dues 2 weeks later. Yo, Curtis. That kind of stuff you can teach, but really it's just becoming just, being more of who you are. You attract people who are on that same wavelength. And then also, too, you push away people that you don't really need to be building with. There's a lot of folks that I looked up to growing up that I wish I didn't meet. And that's as funky as I can keep it. I meet them and it's like, it takes the illusion, it takes them off the pedestal. And I realize, dude, these just human beings with their own issues. Yeah, they got a couple more commas in their bank account than I do, but they irritated some days like I be irritated some days in traffic. But you just got to make sure that you're building on a very genuine level. Check your emotions first because it's going to come through. 95% of our communication is body language. 95. 5% of it is words. So you already know everything you need to know about me when we're first talking by the way that I'm standing. If I shake your hand limp, like these are all things that are giving you a message. So check your own emotions first because it'll come out naturally in the way that you present yourself.
I got 5-second tip. 5-second tip on relationships. Know the difference between thirst and hunger. Be hungry, don't be thirsty.
I like that. My philosophy is real simple. And they can probably, these two try to say better than me, but every major deal that I've ever done, so a major, has always been on a relationship, personal relationship. It's never been on solicitation. Now, my everyday money from my businesses, that's, sending out emails and promotions and stuff. But I'm talking about real major deals is always on me meeting somebody and we just strike up a conversation. Now, my secret to relationships is very simple and it's very sincere. I never walk up to somebody and say, I need this or this is what I'm doing. My first thing is, what do you need? And then I'm trying to figure out, well, how can I service this person? And I'm not even saying that in terms of you give me this and I give you that. I just say, hey, what do you need? And it'll come back to you. I did a deal with Native Instruments a while back, and it had nothing to do with me ever talking to them or nothing. It was that I had a friend that years ago in 2004 or something like that. We made some beats and I sold some beats for him and gave him some money. Never asked him for nothing. He ended up getting a position up there and hit me up. So stuff like that, and it happened. So every relationship, me being mentored by DJ Battlecat, just happened. Hey, what do you need, man? You know, and then they say, well, hey, man, you know what? I'm trying to do this. Okay, let me see how I can make that happen. And maybe I know somebody that I can plug you with and never ask for nothing in return. But I'm telling you, the way the universe works, it'll come back to you. So I'm always just trying to add value to people. And if you stick with that philosophy, you'll win and win very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I can kind of,
I'm saying it like that's really the key. It's like, you know, I forgot my thought, man, but you know,
killed it with the add value.
With the add value, and it's like, you know, if it wasn't for relationships, I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? I started out making rap beats, and this is back in the days in New York, and you have ciphers in the street, you meet different people, and you connect with people you vibe with, and you know, after hours or it gets shut down, I'm like, yo, I got a 4-track, I got a drum machine, yo, come through. I like the way you vibing, you know? One of those people happened to be Alicia Keys, you know what I mean? I'm not, you know, we just vibing, making long hours of dat tape, just vibing, you know. We keep up with each other. What's going on with your career? Says, I just got a deal. Oh, you got a deal? Oh, great, such and such. I'm hip-hop. I'm not thinking nothing about what she's doing, but I want to see her win. I'm like, yo, how's everything going? She's like, oh man, it's going terrible. I don't like nothing I'm doing with these people. I like what we've been doing. I want you to work on my album. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah. I never done R&B in my life. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Just off of basically having a normal, regular relationship off of the vibe. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking like, oh, you got a deal? Yo, let me come through. You know what I mean? It just happened organically. You know what I mean?
Awesome. And I can say, let's define what a relationship is. We spoke in day 1 and day 2 and day 3, I think. I forget what day now. You know, about point A and point B. There's the source and there's the resource. So in a relationship, you have 2 points. You have person A and person B. It's an inter-exchange. And it's all about what are you trading? You know, you're trading ideas. For example, in your romantic relationship, Serge, you're trading ideas. You're trading knowledge with each other, not concepts. That's what romantic relationships are built out of. You're not trading anything else except that. And, you know, when we start thinking about it as a rotating circle between point A and point B, like Postman said, it's the law of reciprocity. It's a universal law. You know, I think, 7 universal laws or 13 universal laws, however many there are. It's just the law of how it works. You know, action has a reaction, you know. But in relationship, the problem we have is, Quincy Jones is known for this, you know, leave your ego at the door. And that's because ego blocks the receptivity, you know, between the inner exchange of point A and point B. So that's the hardest part, is dealing with that person's ego. How can we get behind the barrier instead of trying to beat the barrier down with being thirsty and trying to fight our way past that person's ego? How can we actually build a tunnel to go under the wall and dig up ourselves on the other side? That's the whole secret and mystery. What's going on?
I have a question. Does the internet makes it really difficult to build genuine relationship nowadays? You know, because I don't know anybody here. I'm not a musician. I'm just supporting her. But I can go and just Google Curtis King, and I want to know everything that is to know about him. And then if I ever meet him and stuff like that, does that make it awkward that I know things about you, or how did the internet, you know, like?
No, that's a lot better. No, but that's cool. That's a lot more tamer than some situations where it be people who, I be in the bath, not to give too much business, but I'm in the bathroom and somebody be like, Curtis King. And I'm like, yo, this is not the place. Nor the time. There's no conversation. But that, to me, my thing is this: when it comes to those kind of relationships where you know more about that person, you are in a unique position in which, yes, you can weird them out if you start unraveling too much at the same time, but you can speak to them in a way. There's been times where, I remember one of my mentors, Murs, would tell me he would connect with a legendary hip hop artist by saying 1 or 2 words about a mixtape that he thought everybody forgot about. I think he said he connected with like KRS one time by saying he quoted some lyrics from a very abstract tape, not in a thirsty way, but just saying, when you said that, I knew I wanted to do this. That shows he's well read upon what I'm doing. You respect what I'm doing. Now I'm interested in knowing what exactly is it that you do. So that goes back to what Postman is saying, is that how can you be of service to them? When people come to me and say, Curtis, man, I know you work really hard. You do video editing, you do graphic design, you do production, you rap. I stopped rapping because I had to take one of them hats off. But you do all of that, man. Can I do some graphic design for you? Like, no, I'm not looking for nothing. If anything, I'm just looking for an opportunity to showcase my work. You know, if you enjoy it, I mean, I would love to contribute more to what you got. What's your goal? What do you want to create? And it's not somebody saying in their head, I'm going to help him create until I get to a level and then I'm going to pop away from there. It's genuine. So I think with you knowing as much as you do, that puts you in a unique position than somebody else who just heard of me like, oh yeah, my homie told me about you on YouTube. Yo, can we build? What is building? Let's be real. Like, what is building? What's building? Can we build? No, we can't
Talk
build.
your head off. That's
like,
what building
that's,
is.
That's what building it, right? Right? Like, come on. Like that. But I think that when you go in with a very specific plan and you say, I know this man wears a lot of hats, and I think the thing that is stopping, you don't have to even share that with me, but if you're saying, I think the thing that's stopping him from growing is being able to delegate and trust in somebody who can deliver upon this particular value. So if you know that, whether that applies to Game Sound, Oracle, Crucial Keys, or Postman, that is your opportunity where you know so much very casually, just like in a conversation. Like, it was funny, like one of my friends said, you know, stop looking at these celebrities in the big light and start to talk to them as you would in a respectable way to your sister or your brother. And it changes your entire energy. But when you go in there like, oh my God, this guy can change my life, it's gonna change the way you have a conversation. And he'll see that. Why? Because that individual is used to being around people who want to leech their energy. That's why sometimes you meet a celebrity and think they're standoffish. No, they're protecting their energy because they know they're around people who are like, you can do something for me. You could change my life. I can't imagine walking around with, you know, like you ever see that video of Kanye when he's like on, I think he's on Sunset, and the girl's like, please sign me, man. Sign me. And she's rapping and he's just like very like, I don't want to be a jerk. And she just starts rapping. And her friend is just like holding his head like embarrassment. So I think you having the unique opportunity to know as much as you do, you can be very, very focused about how you approach that relationship and build a genuine one at that.
Dope. Hey, you know I got them quick tips, right? Listen, when you meet somebody big or somebody you think is big, one way to impress them, for lack of a better word, tell them something about themselves that happened before everybody knew about them. You know what I'm saying? Or something from the third or fourth page of Google about them. That's what those third or fourth pages are good for. You know, those little things that people don't really care about. Those little, but anyway. And
low-key Nardwuar, huh? You familiar with Nardwuar? Yeah. He does interviews with people and he starts bringing out like the most abstract records. 8-page Google.
That's how you got to do it. And another quick one. Treat millionaires like regular people and treat regular people like millionaires. Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's facts, actually. A lot of game there. No, and to answer your question, it makes it easier when you're online because, like, no one knew who I was at first, and I started branding online, like I said, a long time ago. And most people that know me that's been online, they feel like they know me in real life. So when they see me, it's like, oh, what up, Postman? Because they seen 30 of my videos. So it kind of breaks that ice already because they feel like they know me. And that works, especially if you're authentic, and what you put online. Like, if I was somebody different, then when they see me, it would be uncomfortable. But if you're just being yourself, they feel like they've known you for years. So it's a benefit.
Yeah, and I was going to say that everyone up here came here to create value. We're talking about relationships and internet and all these things, but what's your ultimate goal is to create value. So if that's your intention, how do you multiply your intention? Now, firstly, we got to kind of make everybody comfortable with each other, and we had some people sneak in who weren't introduced. I'm not you. I'm sorry. I saw Arash back there. There he is. And I didn't get your name, brother. Gabriel. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I hate to have people just kind of sneak in without being addressed. And there she is. Melion came to fly, flying fresh. Again, I want to make everybody comfortable. That's the whole point. But again, we all came here to create value. I forgot the internet. So it's the internet. And what was your original question?
It's just, because I just asked him about the internet, because I don't know if any of you, I'm interested in you guys are well spoken, so I can listen to you guys all night and apply your field into my professional field. So, just the internet, like I sell watches.
Awesome.
Get on the internet and sell.
There he is.
But you know what?
Stuff like that. So, sometimes people go on the internet and they think they know more about you.
Well, I think in that situation, no matter what you're selling, at the end of the day, people don't quickly identify with the product. They identify with the brand or the reputation behind it. And a lot of that has to do with the way that you present yourself. If you're the guy that's like, I'll give you an example. There's a producer right now who every time he gets on the MPC, he smiles before. I know some of y'all know who
Beats
it is.
by Jay Black.
Right? Right? I didn't know him by name, but I know that enough to describe it to where you'll look it up. You'll put in smile MPC and then find him, right? But that's what I'm saying. Which you can build off of that by you literally saying, you know what, let's take this obstacle out the way. This is who I am. This is what I'm into. And the thing is, when I'm talking to producers and rappers, when I'm doing consultations, the first thing I want to know about is, you. What is it that you want? Because I'm pretty sure what you really, really want is not aligned with the way that you're working. This is why you say, I need to consult with somebody. But you have it all there. So I think with me, it was like, I make beats. One of the greatest questions that a friend asked me, and I thought he was being disrespectful, but he helped me, was, so what? Keep asking, so what? And you're going to ask, so what? Until you get to a very specific answer of what you really want to do. So I said, I make beats. So what? My beats have this knock to them that you can't get anywhere else. So what? Well, I do these YouTube videos where I give information to other producers to attract them, to this information. So what? I feel like it can change lives. So what? You see how more detailed it gets the more you ask, so what? Constantly do that in whatever you're doing. If you're selling watches, I sell watches. So what? I feel like these are the greatest quality that you can get in a watch, and they're different because of these particular characteristics. So what? Well, you know what? A portion of this money goes to a charity that I'm passionate about. The so what gets to the heart of what you really, really want. So
those are bars, by the way. I have something similar. I always tell people, if you really want to know the answer to something, especially something internal, just ask yourself why 3 times. At least 3 times, you'll always get to the real answer.
I was gonna say, so what? Now
I started that. That's my fault. That's my bad.
I wanted to tie what I was saying earlier is that we all came up here to create value. So the point of the internet is to give you the ability to create value on a massive scale. Systematize it so you're asleep and somebody's reading Crucial's articles about, what was the ones I retweeted recently? The ones you put out, the articles about helping producers recently.
Well,
can't remember the titles.
There's
so
so
in my
many.
mind too. But
there's always new. Like the thing I like to do is like spread the music business news. Like because one thing about this business, something we tell you now will be totally different a year from now. You know what I mean? So I always like try to keep producers and just people who want to know about the business up to date with what's going on and the constant changes. Some are great, some are bad.
And the whole point in creating value in advance and showing people that they can get results from what you have to offer is, again, what is relationship? It's an exchange of ideas. You want to be able to apply somebody else's ideas so you can get to point B, which is your intention. So, when Postman's talking about, delivering value in content pieces, we all have content pieces we deliver. Curtis has his, motivation series. Sound Oracle has his live podcast every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We did one time Western time or whatever, Pacific time, which was awesome. And Postman delivers tons of content, sneakily, but you gotta be on his email list. You gotta be on his email list.
Exclusive.
Crucial. You check his Twitter and you'll see tons of value. And I retweeted it like it was like a lot of them in a row. Just tons of content. We all produce value. And the way you do that, again, how do you multiply your business, your music business? You have to exponentially think about it. So this is a quick thing I want to go over is, again, what's 5 plus 5? It's 10. What's 5 times 5? It's 25. What's 5 squared plus 5 squared? That's 50. What's 5 squared times 5 squared? I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to let you do it. But the point is, it's still 5. Nothing changed about 5. It's the way you perceive the growth strategy. Do you want to grow one by one or do you want to grow geometrically? So these are ways to grow geometrically. You have the internet, which is We can access the internet through his laptop right here, somebody's mobile phone, literally walking around with them to spread a message in an instant at low cost. And if we're not using these tools to broadcast our message to change the world, are we really fighting for that purpose, our why? Are we really on that mission? This is what I said separates a real man from a boy, is that we have integrity. We're warriors on a mission. We have a mission, a diehard mission, something higher than us, which we will fulfill before we, pass. And the Stoics, that's why they, write their own eulogies. These invisible braces make me trip on words. Eulogy. It's because it creates the urgency, like Diego said, Oracle. And it forces you to say, I only have this amount of years to create this amount of value. And if every decision is not about creating the most value, then I'm not living up to my potential. So that's the power of the internet. Now your content strategy, Gabriel, could be different. It could be like Curtis King videos where it's like funny little clips, like the chopped.
Can it be chopped? I mean, these are like newer editions and whatnot. But when my approach with video is same thing I just said earlier. I'm a producer, but so what? He's kind of funny, man. Like, you ever watch his videos? You know what? I get a good feeling when I listen to him talk. Me knowing that, I didn't know that at first. I had to take it from other people. This also ties into branding too, because you may be having a question about what is it that makes me uniquely different. That's really the question you're asking when you're talking about your brand. And it was one conversation with an artist that I was supposed to be mentoring that told me, what I love about your music is very nostalgic. The next month I had a flat top. The next month, I started tapping into all the things that were made up of what makes me nostalgic. Yes, I am. I'm glad you said that. All it takes is that one word or that one conversation that shifts everything. So, really what this is, take the internet away. And I try to always make sure I do that, which I know is a very old school way of thinking, but take the internet away, take away all the advancements of what's happening. You still got to be a human being. I still got to talk to you with respect, whether I'm talking to you through an iPhone or face to face. So it's crazy. I'll tell you really briefly, and that's probably a lie, but I know I'm talking. But I had a 10-year career. I was doing music videos, sometimes on the red cams, and we would go through all of this work, and the videos that might get 15,000, 25,000 views, which I could be like cool, but I'm looking at my peers, and they're getting like 70,000, 80,000, 100,000. The day that I said, I'm going to turn this iPhone around and just share my value about why my friends should stop tagging me on Facebook because the algorithm is killing their efforts. 60,000 views in 24 hours. Man, that's just a whim, whatever. I'm going to turn it back around and I'm going to do another video about how I feel like there's a divide between the OGs and the young heads in hip hop, and how the thing that's going to save that is all of us collectively giving our value. When I'm hearing stories of some of my OGs who don't know how to open up a Bandcamp page, it hurts, because I'm like, they're legendary for their own right and what they did in their era. One of us should be the one showing them the way on that. But there's that pride issue between the both of us where it's like, you didn't teach me nothing, so why should I teach you? And the other side of it is, nobody taught me, so you need to learn on your own, youngin'. So when I looked at that and I said, okay, I'm going to do another video about that. 80,000 in 24 hours. This wasn't by mistake. Now it's starting to come like fluid, it's starting to come like water, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think for yourself and whatever you're approaching, don't think about just the platform. Forget the platform. What is it that's amazing about you that people constantly bring up? You know what, man? You're real genuine. That kind of stuff. Man, you know what? You know what I like about you? You make complex topics really simplistic. There's a business underlying in all those attributes that are just uniquely yours that nobody else can have except for you.
And when you think Busy Works Beats, you think simple, easy, fun, not a boring music school. I take complex ideas and break it into simple form so you can digest it and then build your own conclusions and analyses from that. So that's why I had everybody say their name and that one word that describes you. This is all tying together in small little ways. So Jalen, then we got Jonathan, right? Awesome. We need that mobile. There you go, Jalen.
One thing I wanted to know is what's the best way to advance as a producer musically and just basically improving in your craft? Like, what does that look like for you? That goes for like anybody.
I'm short and sweet. 10,000 hours and feedback. Just feedback. The thing is, we spend so much time making stuff. You could be going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. You'll never know it until you put it out there. You feel me? So people have 2,000 beats on their laptop that they never played for anybody. You never got any feedback. You're not gonna grow.
Fail, 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 fail. Copy, copy, copy until you hate it. When you hate it, you start to find your own voice. Especially in the very beginning. One of my mentors, Tay Beast, who's a TDE producer, he told me he would never give me, if I asked him a question, he wouldn't give me the exact answer for it. He would not send me on a goose chase, but he would be like, here, Curtis, I'm gonna give you a homework assignment. Find your favorite Just Blaze beat, okay? Loop it around and try to mimic his drums to the best of your ability. Then remove the original sample, only play your drums and talk about what you don't like to yourself. I didn't like the hi-hat action. I more so was a fan of DJ Toomp at the time. Okay, I'll try these hi-hats on here. Started putting these trap drums on sample records. All of a sudden, I'm getting placements with Ab-Soul because he's looking for something unique within that particular aesthetic. Fail, just fail. I think sometimes we have so many questions because really what the underlying thing is, we don't want to fail, right? You gotta fail. Failing is a prerequisite. Get excited when you fail. I know that sounds crazy. Get excited when you fail because you're literally a step closer. I remember Seth Godin said it one time. He said, the difference between me being this multimillionaire and somebody else who doesn't have a dollar to their name, I failed more than them. And if I keep failing more than you, I'll stay ahead of you. So did you ask that question about advancing? Oh, you asked a question about advancing to me. I failed. I was not afraid to fail and look crazy because I knew that it wouldn't always be like this because the engine that pushed this thing forward wasn't one of scarcity. It's one of abundance. Cool. You just like Thomas Edison, the doggone light bulb. 10,000 times he messed that thing up and finally figured out something. I was like, oh, that's what I was doing wrong the whole time. You have to be, you can't be afraid to fail. Malcolm, what was the name of the book? Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. Every step of the way, your growth is this. First, people think you're stupid for taking on this as a producer or whatever you are. People are like, you gonna be a producer? You a rapper? Ugh. Second part of it, you're gonna actually be stupid because you're gonna make mistakes, right? Third part of it, people are like, you know what? He may be stupid, but he works hard. Fourth step, okay, you work hard. You're knowledgeable because you've put in the hours. Fifth step, you're a genius. Literally because you stood the test of time and you weren't afraid to fail along the way. Anybody's story follows that criteria. I kid you not.
So if we're talking about craft, I've learned from my experience, well, first thing is always going to be dedication to practice. You ain't going to get around that. How many beats you continue to make. Second thing that I learned was study. I study personally, I study the top of the charts because I want to know what people listen to now. I don't care if I don't like it. I study world music. That was the second thing I learned. Like he said, you got to get feedback, preferably from somebody that's already better than you. So I always try to find masters of the craft, send them my stuff, have them tell me that it's garbage, and tell me what's wrong with it. Then I took ego out of the question. And the last thing I would say is one of the secrets is always update your sound catalog. I mean, you think producers they get certain sounds that they like using, and then 5 years later using the same sounds. You got to always be updating your sound. That inspires you. And then the thing that I learned a little later in my career that I wish I knew in the beginning is collaboration. That's the fastest way. Start collaborating with musicians, other producers, and you're going to get better way faster than if you just sit by yourself in the bedroom and make beats.
Yeah, indeed. Everything they said was that's the way I would say too. Collaboration, because it's like sometimes you'll come up with something dope, but you're like, for me, I was trying to be always like a perfectionist. So I'll go on, and my brother be like, yo, what did you do? It was already good. You know what I mean? And I just noticed it just made it easier for me to create because I'll do something, I'll see the reaction in the room, like, okay, we good. But if I'm by myself, I'll drive myself crazy where I don't even like it anymore. You know what I mean? And also have fun, man. Always have fun with it. Don't take it like, I got to get this to get out of this. When it's not happening for me. So the other word is consistency, man. Just stay consistent, Can
I say one more thing in that too? Because you reminded me early on, that was the one thing I wished. I'm seeing this right now. This is remarkable. I'm hearing all this stuff right now. I'm like, Doug, somebody told me this just like 5 years early. But I tell you this, you know, don't be afraid to consume other type of content. Like I always talk about Tony Robbins because I consume a lot of Tony Robbins. But one of the things that he says is that you can literally mirror anybody's success if you understand a few different things. One being the physiology that they take on. So as you watch these behind the beat videos, if you know that you make beats and you're doing this and you're not inspired, but you watching Ryan Leslie in a full-blown suit, you know what I mean? Calling in trumpets, bring them in. I'm not saying that's every studio session, but at some level, that's his threshold, as you're talking about. That's his threshold of energy, and that's where it ends up being. So you look at that, model the physiology, because you know what? When you model somebody's physiology when they're depressed, you'll feel depressed. Same way it works when they're working on music. You see somebody in there jamming. I don't care if you got to have a jam session by yourself. That's one. Second thing is figure out their why, and then the next thing is figure out their system. Because you'll hear you get so many bars when you're watching a behind the beat video, because they'll say things that you think are not a big deal, but they're like, I always work on the drums first because I just got to catch a vibe first. And you're like, wait a minute, you done gave me something. Hold on, play that back again. You know, when I'm making the 808s, I always put them in a higher note because I just can't hear them in the lower notes. You're getting things that you can use that are practical tools. You don't have to be around a community all the time to do that. Initially, I didn't have a community around me. It was just like my grandparents and me on this PlayStation. I ain't know no other PlayStation producers, right? I started on MTV Generator, but I think what it comes down to is you can still, especially with the internet, dog. Y'all have the internet right now. Jump on there, watch these videos, model their physiology. Just try it. I know it's gonna sound silly, but model their physiology. Are they slumped? Are they sitting over? Are they sitting in the chair? What kind of a chair do they have? And what's going to happen is is partly mimicking. You'll start to feel the things that they feel. And then you'll start to make certain decisions that are very similar to what they're making. They're not picking a snare because they went through 8 hours of finding the right snare, because they said there's not a snare in this kit that will make me feel like this one for this particular beat. This bounce will not be the same if I don't have this particular instrument or whatever it is. Model the physiology, know the why, understand their system.
And to kind of capsulize that is, as Postman said, he gets feedback from experts, masters. So I'd say start with a mentor. Now, the richest people in the world have mentors. You know, Bill Gates' mentor is not Charlie Munger, but who's Warren Buffett? I'm sorry, I lost his name because I'm thinking of his advisor. So Warren Buffett is Bill Gates' mentor, and Warren Buffett's advisor is Charlie Munger, who wrote a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac. And in that book, he talks about, that's a book you should buy. Somebody asked about books the other day. That's a book you definitely should buy. One of the biggest lessons is to create a model, because you need a theory. Just like music theory, it's a model of thinking. It's a systemized approach, and it's based on assumptions. We're all making assumptions that this floor won't give out right now. We're all making assumptions that the food's going to be here in 35 or 45 minutes, says Cameron. You know, we're all making certain assumptions, whether we think about it or not. And that's based on our model of thinking, our model of perception. And that's where mentors give you, you know, once you study under them, they give you a model, something to mimic and copy. And, you know, because what makes great leaders, and I was telling Melly on this, is that, you know, she was saying she teaches reason, for example. If you can get a shot of her, she looks pretty incredible, stylish and cool back there. And the hat, awesome. Just the flower to match the shirt. And she was saying how she teaches reason, for example, to people here. And I was saying that she was asking, you know, how to stand out from the crowd. And I said, what makes a level 5 leader, like John Maxwell writes about, is that a level 5, there's 5 levels of a leader. I don't know the lower 4 because I aim for the level 5. But level 5 is that a level 5 leader is a leader that can teach and multiply himself. And those are always teachers. That's why, I forget who brought it up, that I think it was you, talked about, you know, these millionaires and billionaires, a part of their income is a teaching product. And that's because that's how they become leaders. Why do you think Grant Cardone has a super series every day, every Thursday and Friday? It's because he wants to become a leader. He's attracting his workforce and attracting people with his resonance, that Crucial said, people on his wavelength. You know, so level 5 leaders are awesome teachers. And I forgot why I said that. Why did I tie that? What's my point here?
Mastering the craft.
To multiply themselves and to have mentors. So that's the point of creating a model.
That's the key. And the secret that I learned, and a lot of times the producers don't give out their secrets. I don't know if y'all know. It's like an old school thing. But the real secret is like the drums. Like that's what producers, like I hear thousands of beats because I get them all the time. Check this out. It's the drums that, like we focus so much on melodies and all that stuff. Like if you really want to get to the next level of production, it's really focus on the drums and have a distinct, different drum sound, and you'll immediately separate yourself from all the other producers.
There been so many rooms where my melodies were trash, but them drums came in. They was like, it got potential. We can work with this, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll bring somebody who know how to really play the keys and do this.
No, that's real. You could take a Mickey Mouse record, throw the right drums. You're like, woo.
Like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you know the Mickey Mouse Club theme start with the crazy drum.
Exactly.
The Mike Curve Jones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Hard Knock Life, a Broadway play with the right drums. Come on.
Which was Michael Jackson's favorite song from Jay-Z at the time. He said, I love that song. He said, it's brilliant. It's genius.
All you need is an Oracle sound, because I've heard a Drake. I've heard a Drake song. I think it's called Reality or something like that. Reality, is it? Whatever it's called.
I forgot what it's called.
But it literally has one sound Oracle loop in it, and it's like a Drake song, and it's spinning right now.
Mike Will produced it too.
Oh, Mike Will did that.
Yeah.
There we go. So you never know, like, the power of our influence. I know we don't seem like celebrities or seem like these high-level folks with tons of cars. Like, we just saw Scott Storch the other day with Evan from Studio Link. Thanks to Evan, if you're watching this. And we met up with Brian Michael Cox. They have a huge kind of fame name, as Curtis King said. You know, there's a cost of fame and then a cost of monetary side. You know, we went over that the other day, but we might not seem like celebrities, but I've heard reports back, and I won't release names because I don't know who's comfortable with what, but literally our influence is tremendous. It's amazing, the stories I get back in emails. I mean, I wish I could tell you who we're influencing, but it's on an incredible level.
You know I do. You know, I wish I could give somebody the business right now who's stealing my content directly from YouTube, but more power to you.
Yeah. We're going to get that small clip in there. More power to you. But it's focused on influence. Influence is what gets stuff done. My intention is multiplied. And this is the whole point of the seminar, the Music Producer Mastermind meeting. My intention is multiplied. Whether I'm put as the front man or not, you know, I caused this huge chain of reaction based on one of my decisions. And that's why all of us, when we, you know, make decisions, we have to have a philosophy, because that decision is now multiplied times 1,000. You know, I make a small decision to do this as a chain that, you know, multiplies itself. So sowing seeds and reaping and all the harvests and whatnot, think about influence and make that your focus, not the quick chase to, you know, cut your integrity down and chase the bag for a quick minute, you know.
Everything would have seen me either. Like you talking about with fame. Like when I started this business and I started teaching producers how to make money, like I met a lot of producers that I looked up to behind the scenes because of the name, and I learned they really didn't have like no type of money, and it's hurt me because I'm like, damn, this is my dream. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like why we started Live Off Beats, because I learned that yeah, you may have the celebrity status, but where is your real income coming from? And, you know, what we don't know as producers, a lot of producers don't know that we have a shorter career span in the NFL. I mean, you think about producers who, you know, they have they're on charts maybe for 2 years and you never hear from them again. And we never think to ourselves, well, where does their money come from? I mean, they don't got no more placements. I don't hear about them anymore. And a lot of them, you know, they may be working at UPS after being super producers. Some of them had to move back in with their parents, you know, because they didn't have a real understanding of how to have sustainable money as a music producer. And so that's why we found other ways like selling your beats online. That's why it's so important. We talking about brand and all that kind of stuff. That's what they failed to have. And a lot of them actually laughed at me when I would tell them. I'd be like, yo, man, you should sell your stuff online. Man, what you mean, man? Online, man, I done did such and such with this. And now I'm like, listen, you could clean up because you already got a name. And then they wouldn't listen. You know what I mean? And so now you see what happened. Now some guys who you never heard of now, I know guys making $25,000 to $30,000 every month. I'm talking about guys that are like 19 years old, making $30,000 a month. You never heard of them. They never had a major placement, but just selling their beats on the internet. You see? And that's the power of what's happened now. And we have to really take advantage of that.
True. And Jonathan almost forgot about your question.
Or healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
This is real stuff.
And I want to say what Postman is illustrating is I'm a living example of that. Literally came from my mom's extra bedroom with the hot laptop on my lap during the height of the summer, I always say heat. During the height of the summer, super hot on my lap, broken mouse wheel with a vision. And I've literally come from that to living out something that I never even imagined, which is creating this moment with you. And I want to thank you all. So you give yourself a round of applause for yourself. all dressing to impress, trying to create a moment. So this is amazing, and I want to get to Jonathan's question, but I'm a living example of what Postman's saying. I don't have fame per se. I might have recognition to a certain community, but it's about, are you creating those results? We talked about views versus actual business the other day. I forget, who I had the conversation with exactly, but instead of chasing 100,000 views per video, I'm building a business. I'd rather get 10,000 views a video and convert those people into buying customers who I'm trying to add value to and make money to sustain the business, so we can have this seminar together and then multiply it again and do the same thing on a bigger scale. I'd rather do that than focus on vanity metrics, which is the 100,000 views, which mean nothing but recognition and no system to tie it back into your business.
And speaking on the vanity aspect of it, I think that's, for a lot of producers, we have our mind set on a destination is going to be, and this is going to be like, this is so aside from any industry talk, but this destination is going to equal our everlasting happiness. When I get to this financial threshold, I'm going to take care of my mom, everybody's going to be cool, and that's going to be it. I'm thankful that I got to meet producers with major placement. They had the career that I wished that I had, right? Early on, at least. To be able to go inside of their home, and this might sound weird, touch the walls and kind of like breathing in, to touch the walls and be like, somebody still got to clean this wall. Sounds silly. Somebody got to walk up these stairs every single day. I don't like stairs. My knees are trash. Like I don't want. It sounds so minor, but those things are the things that are going to add up. Once you're in that position, they're going to all add up, and you're going to say, you ever wonder? You say, man, people make all this money. How can you not be happy? Come on now. In this day and age, we know that it's deeper than just the money. And so I think sometimes being exposed to success stories, not just the people who didn't, the success stories, getting in that environment and realizing like, y'all still got the same problems I got. In a lot of ways, because you did not fix the foundation of what the true issue is, the foundation of what really makes you happy. It's two things: growth and contribution. I think this is why you see the individuals you see giving so much. Some people think like, when I first started making my videos, they were like, okay, when are you going to sell to me? I didn't sell nothing the first year I started doing videos. And it wasn't because I was like, I got an ultimate plan, but it was like, I'm not trying to sell you. I need to give you this information. They felt that passion. That passion came through. Now I had to turn down money. You know how many times I was in studio sessions with people, playing them beats like, man, I hope this comes through because my car about to get repoed next week. I really hope this goes through. And they're like, nah, we're not feeling nothing, but thanks you for rolling through. And I go home broker than when I came because I didn't get this in tune. What will really make me happy? And I'm telling you, the more that you're growing at your craft, you feel like you're growing, you're going to be happy. The people who are not happy, they stop growing. The people who are not contributing to something bigger than, like, I love, when I say producer community, I love y'all with a passion. Rappers as well. Like, I'm gonna be honest, even as a rapper, I used to downplay like the independent rapper who wasn't so skilled. And I'd be like, man, I ain't trying to sell my beats to that. That dude is a hardworking individual like anybody else that got a family support. They got a dream too. He or she has a dream. It's not me to judge their craft, And I know Colgate for a fact, when they put that toothpaste inside Walgreens, they don't say, nah, fam, only people with teeth can buy this. That's what they want, of course, at the foundation of it, but they make it a available service to anybody who would like to have even their gums, taste like Colgate. But I say that to say that I got into this and realized that I was doing business with actual human beings, and that was far more satisfying than I think if I would have had this monumental success that I thought I wanted at 19, 20, I probably would have been another one of those stories. Dame Dash said it. He said when people look like they're winning but feel like they're losing, they do dumb stuff. He used another word, but you see that. How many times have we seen that this year? People who are abusing their power. Because when it looks like you're winning, but it feels like you're losing on the inside because you're not happy, you do this silly stuff. So if I can leave you with anything, I think that's, to me, anything I said, skip all of it. That's more important. Figure out what makes you happy, because you may not be happy 2 a.m. studio sessions, 3 a.m. studio sessions. You may like to work during the day. But because you've been convinced that this is the only way you can make it and be successful in the industry, you'll do it. It still comes with some sacrifice, but you get to model your life the way you want it. Tim Ferriss said in the 4-Hour Workweek, he said, don't try to look for the job that's going to make you the most money. Figure out what kind of lifestyle you want to have first, and then adjust the type of work that you're doing to that.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Money make me happy, man. I come
Straight
from
up.
projects.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, having a safe place for my family, man, and being able to do what I want to do, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm happy.
But that's what makes you happy, taking care of your family.
Yeah,
But
no,
you know
no.
what?
That's what I do with the
That's
money.
what-
But I'm
exactly.
saying, without the money,
but that
I
shows
wouldn't
that
have
that's
it.
the key.
You know?
What you
Yeah,
do
yeah, I
with
know
the
what you're
money.
saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I'm happy with it. I'd rather have it
Yeah.
than not have it. I put it like that.
I rather too, and I tell you, the byproduct of that is green money is green piece of paper. I can chop up some green pieces of paper for you with some presidents on it, and it won't make you as happy as what you can do as a result of that money. I got that from that Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I learned we give these pieces of paper, so much power over our happiness, so
Backed
much
by
power
nothing.
over everything that we do. Like, we'll even get in situations where we know somebody's disrespecting us in a studio session because they're more famous than us, simply because we think they got more comments in their bank account than us. And I looked at that and I was like, why am I doing that? Because of the power that I am giving these pieces of paper. Now, the results of it, you are absolutely right. There's not a day that I'm like, look, I better be able to pay my rent. I better get up here and work, and I better make this money. But if that is the center of it, it's a drug that'll give you a high for a little bit. But if the byproduct of it is nothing that's bigger than what you are and bigger than taking care of people around you, it is not sustainable. That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger said when he first started working out. All he was thinking about is all the American girls he would be able to have access to once he gets big in bulk. That's not his drive to this day, but it was enough to fuel him to a certain level. Maybe, but I'm sure as time goes on and you get around different circles, obviously your wants and your needs start to it's almost like keeping up with the Joneses type of situation. At first you were cool with just having a hoopty, then you get around people who are like, our standards are higher, and so now you want your standards to be higher because that's the circle that you're in.
Most, not to cut you off, Bezzy, most things in life related relatively to your inner happiness become normal within 6 months to a year. Whether you win the lottery or you get both legs amputated, within a year, it's just going to be your normal life. So you don't have any money today. Having money might make you feel good. You get a whole bunch of money, you start getting money. Within a year, it's just normal. Now you always got money. That's why you need to contribute to something, because you need something to constantly feed that. Now on the topic of money, as Postman brought up, you're going to always have problems. Homeless man got money problems. Warren Buffett got money problems. I would just rather have the Warren Buffett money problems. But you're going to always have problems.
Well, I feel like that producers, I feel like we're different because just having Live Off Beats and just dealing with all these producers, I feel like outside of these walls, I feel like that's a big problem. People don't know their passion. But I just feel like if I gave all these producers $1 million, I guarantee you in a week they all be in the studio just making beats for like a year straight. You know what I mean? Because they know what they love to do.
I don't know, man. Because I tell you this, I watched a documentary on Showtime where there was a homeless man that they were documenting, and this is one person. I know that, but this is one person that they put $1 million in the trash. They told him, we're going to do a documentary on your life and what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. I forget the name of it, but it was on Showtime. They put $1 million in a suitcase. That money was gone within a month. Why? Because the bare foundation of his thinking and the foundation of his how can I put it? This financial literacy never changed. What you do with $20 is the same thing you do with 20,000. If your last $20, hold on, but hear me out. With your last $20, if you say, my last $20, I'm gonna go to McDonald's, I'm about to splurge, I'm about to pay $13 on my last 20 that you get to another 2 weeks. The same mentality carries on to when you start getting 20,000. Because you'll start looking at that and saying, well, I got enough for this $8,000 car, and I got enough of this. I can take care of some people's bills. That has to change first. Because I tell you, when I started doing the online, just like how we talk about the online business, when I started making money, I was like, this is cool. Where's my money at? I was spending like an idiot because I had never sat there and said, what are the bigger goals than just making the money? The money is beautiful. The money gave me freedom. But then a year later, I was making the money. I saw the money I had accumulated, but I was like, why do I have more headaches than I've ever had in my life?
Well, probably wasn't tracking it. Well, I'm just saying, like,
no, you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
I'm not saying you don't need no financial education. Like you don't need to understand money. Like just blow it. But I feel like the homeless man example, he didn't really know what he wanted in life. Like most of the producers here, they know that they have a yearning for doing music. You know what I'm saying? And they want to. That's what I'm saying. They come to live off
Yeah, I
beats
feel you. I feel
because
No, I understand
they
that,
want to be able to be stable so they can do what they love to do. Whereas if you talk to your average person on the street, like, what do you love to do? I don't know. I just go to work every day and go home and watch TV. They don't have a desired passion, so that's why they splurge on those things.
Yeah.
Because they don't have nothing that they really want to do.
So basically, what he's
100%
saying
what
is
you're
like,
saying.
you know,
Yeah.
most people here, if y'all passion is really music, you ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
Sure,
That's
sure,
all he's really
sure.
saying.
Sure. But I'm saying, and I hate to beat a dead horse, I just don't want people to believe that money is going to solve every issue within you. And I think that's what we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing, but I just don't want them to feel like if I get $1 million, then I'll just work on beats for as much. I'm saying like this.
Take a year off and work on beats though, man.
But no, straight up, no, definitely follow through. But I'm gonna tell you this. Having the financial freedom of knowing my bills were taken care of, there is a dangerous sense of comfortability that robs you of your hunger. No matter how much I love music. Oh my God, I've been working. Sometimes I worked on music to take my mind off of my aching stomach because I hadn't eaten in a day and a half. I love this music, but when I made that money, it wasn't. There was times where I was like, my bills are paid. I don't really have to make a beat. I love music. Oh, don't get me wrong. But I also like seeing my moms happy. I want to take my moms out and let's go out. You know what? Let's go for 3 or 4 days. I'm not going to take my music with me. This is what we're trying to get to. But that's what I'm saying. When you're focused like that and you're focused on a destination being your happiness, that money is going to be the biggest headache you ever get. It's a blessing. All of this is a blessing. Not having money is a blessing. It's the duality of it. But having money, it can be a blessing, but please do not think that is going to solve everything, because all it is, money is not the root of all evil. It is a magnifying glass to who you really are.
I have an opposing philosophy, which is I believe it's our obligation to sell because, again, as entrepreneurs, what we believe in is not in this reality. It doesn't exist. Everybody thinks it's crazy. It's our job to make other people believe just like we believe in this idea, and that's how it becomes more of a reality. Now, the other day, Kevin, I had you put me on the phone over the speakers, and I told everyone, it's your duty to say to someone who you are and what you do. Remember that, Kevin? Yeah. And he got, an opportunity to work with Melion back there. That's how I say it, Melion, back there. And that spawned out of me saying this. You can ultimately be super selfish by not projecting what you have to offer. Somebody could need something so dramatically and urgently, and the fact that you didn't speak up that time when you crossed paths, that's a selfish thing, just based off the decision that you didn't project what you had to offer as a solution. So I believe in, ultimately, I'll let you speak on this, but I believe selling is required to change this world for the good, and then you use the money to do good and more good, and it multiplies. What do you think?
I've heard Grant Cardone say that, and I 100% agree. That's why I didn't even see that as an opposing argument, honestly. I see that it is your duty to be successful. It is your responsibility not just to your own dreams and the things that you set out. It's your duty to your family. You getting out here, being successful should not just be an optional thing. And that's the way that I have designed it in my head. It hasn't always been like that. And what I'm hoping is that if I was on the other side sitting here and I'm listening to everybody talking up here, that you realize the one thing in common with everybody talking is that it starts in the mind first. Don't overlook that and think that if I learn enough practical things, I'll be able to get it. Yeah, you'll get it. You won't sustain it because you're not fueled by the same why in that situation. So, no, please believe that I would rather have the problems of money than not have money at all. But that sense of depression that I sunk into, even having money, was an eye opener. And I don't want you to feel like it's all set in a destination. If you can't find happiness with what you have right now, the universe will not go to work for you. If you think that everything is always scarce and you don't think that you have abundance, the fact that you got 2 hands, that you can walk, that you have, if you don't know you don't have gratefulness right here, right now, when you get that money, it ain't gonna last. That's the only thing I wanted to say about that. Everybody's saying some powerful stuff. That's all I wanted to make sure I said.
It's just like the lottery syndrome. I think about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm always like this whole thing is not a lottery. You gotta hustle. No, you're not just gonna magically throw a beat in the air, somebody gonna snatch it up and take you away to rich producer land. Like Slim, that's just not gonna happen. and that's the reality of it. To Busy's point though, you should definitely always be offering. Make sure you have something to offer people. You have to add value. That is going to be the one thing that will always give you joy throughout your life. Money comes and goes. I've had money. I've had nothing. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I felt the same pretty much in both places. I still was who I was. My general demeanor was still what it was. But it wasn't until I started doing, online and the podcast and all that stuff, and that sense of community and that sense of helping people that in a position that I was in, that I wish somebody could have helped me. That's the joy I get. That's why I do it. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm about my bag. Be about your bag. Because your family can't eat no dreams. You know what I'm saying? Be about your money, but be about your community. Always add value to somebody. Don't be a taker in life. That's it.
And knowledge is part of it, They always say take the good with the bad, but I'm always like, I always take the good, There's a lot of good things to take out of this room tonight.
Right. But it's also that duality of that too, is that how much would you appreciate? Better example, somebody who did you dirty. Think about somebody who did you the worst in life. Had they not did that to you, would it have given you the drive to become the person that you are today? At some point in time, you're going to give them credit for the bad. You got to give them credit for the good too. So I look at my broke times. I hate them. Oh, I detest them. My times working at Quiznos flipping sandwiches, I didn't like not 1 minute of it. Stop all of this motivational stuff, Curtis. No, I didn't like it. But I appreciated the fact that had I not had that job, I would never have been able to buy my surround speakers from Walmart. I would not have been able to buy that PlayStation game when MTV Music Generator went to number 2 and it was with Outkast and Snoop Dogg songs. I bought that as soon as it came out. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I been, harping on the bad or just focus on what I was focused on. Thankfully, because of those bad things, there's two sides of it. And I think that gratefulness and looking at the abundance of the situation right now, if you can find abundance in your hoopty, and there's many times where I did that and didn't understand the concept, but I was sitting right in my hoopty and it was like, dog, we three of my homies, we all together only had $15 in our pocket. And we went to Del Taco and bought them $7, $8 boxes, and we ate like kings. The happiness in that moment, as crazy as that sounds, like that's so crazy in comparison to the beautiful moments that happen now. But those moments are like, yeah, that is part of my character. Had that not happened, I wouldn't have appreciation of breaking bread with successful individuals, with individuals of all walks of life. But I gotta have those moments, because without those moments, I'm not who I am.
Man, I'll give y'all my bad moments. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want them, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want them. No, I was messing with you. I get what you're saying, brother. No,
but you know what the beauty of it is that you know what the beauty of it is? I'd rather this conversation go out loud than in somebody's head back and forth.
No, just that's my philosophy. I mean, to be honest with y'all, you know what I'm saying? Me and my girl was sleeping on the beach, and I didn't know how we was gonna eat in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I had somebody to take care of, and so it's like coming from that. Having money to me, I just like, I'm blessed every day. Yeah. I don't wake up with the feeling of like, man, you know what? I done had money for years now. It's just like, I get to do what I want to do, but I also meditate every day. So I do other things. But also, I want to touch on selling your what you do and selling. The question you got to ask yourself is, why did God give you the gift to do music? Like, I think most producers don't ask themselves that. Like, why did God give me this gift? Did he give it to me so I can go work at Wendy's? Did he give me this gift so I could go work in Wall Street? Like, why did I have this gift and passion for music production? Can't nobody answer that. Your parents can't answer that. Your friends can't answer that. And that's why they don't understand us. But you have to ask yourself that. And my belief is that, the music is like air to people. They just don't realize it, right? Like, we all just breathe and don't even give a crap about air. But the moment you take it away, we like, yo, what the heck? So we're like the unsung heroes of society, but we're not going to get that credit because they just breathe it every day. They put on their Spotify, they play it. They don't realize how integrated it is with their life. Everything. The mall, you can't watch a movie without it. You can't enjoy really nothing in life without music. So we're the unsung heroes. We like the defenders. We like the Marvel, you know what I mean? But we're not going to never get the credit. Right? So it's like, why did we get this gift and how important are we? And then from that standpoint, then you go out and say, you know what? Everybody needs my music. then you're not afraid to go out there and put it out there and sell it and say, you know what, the whole world needs to hear my music. And then that creates it. And then from that philosophy, that's why I say you have the money, you're still going to go out and just do what it is that you love to do anyway. You know, it's a little higher level of consciousness that I'm giving you is, yeah, of course, when I was 19, when I got my first $10,000 in a single day, I went right to the mall. I ain't gonna lie to you. Went to the mall and man, I went to Foot Locker and said, I need every shoe right there. I pointed out every shoe. I need all of them. And came back and they was like, we thought you was playing. I said, you thought I was playing? You better have my shoes right now acting stupid. So I'm not gonna lie to y'all, act like, you know, I'm just holy. You know, I did all that. You know what I mean? Just being honest with you. But now that I'm a little older, you know, I realized that, you know, for me, having money allows me not to think about it and just focus on what I love to do. You know, and so I spend most of my days just doing what I love, you know, and that's my message about, you know, as far as the financial aspects of this.
Awesome. And what Curtis was talking about is the Hermetic philosophy called, from the writing of Hermetic philosophy called the Kabbalion, how to turn a negative into a positive. We spoke about this like day one, day two. What really separates an entrepreneur is you have to experience, you can't learn this in school or anywhere else. Your back has to be against the wall at some point. That's what separates a real entrepreneur, which is what you all want to be. You want to get away from your 9-to-5s. You want to be truly independent and control your destiny. That's an entrepreneur. That's how Postman can wake up and enjoy himself because he's created his destiny as an entrepreneur.
I ain't got to do a damn thing. It's a good life.
It's a
I'm
good
telling
life.
y'all, it exists. A lot of people don't believe that life exists. Like, it do. Like, I literally like have everything. So I could literally sleep for 6 months and I'd still be making money. Everything's taken care of. That's what technology, that's what the internet will do for you. You was asking about the internet. You can set up everything in advance and you ain't got to work for a while if you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
I said it yesterday. I say it again. Warren Buffett said, if you don't figure out how to make money while you sleep, you're working till you die. That's all I had to hear. I was like, okay, I'm on it.
I wanted to continue on the Hermetic philosophy of the Kabbalion, which is how do you turn the negative into a positive? Just giving like a quick tutorial almost. It's that you have to realize that you are above your body, meaning you can will your intention over your body. Now that seems simple, but what it means is thoughts are things, just like cars going through a toll road. You are the toll. You are the spiritual being or the discernment, spirit, whatever you want to call it. You're the toll. So if you allow negative thoughts to go through your toll, you know, I forgot to, you know, give you a structure. Firstly, there's a highway, okay? Then there's a toll. Then after the toll, you have a bunch of roads that go to a bunch of different cities, okay? You are the toll. So when a negative thought comes your way, just realize it's a thing. It's not of you. So you can either be the polar opposite of that negative thought, which is to embody the complete polar opposite. I gave away the punchline again. So if a negative thought comes your way and says, I'm insecure, you say to the negative thought, or you embody this, I am actually secure in the things that I don't like. You embody the polar opposite. And what happens when the sine wave, you know, has +1 voltage and meets the sine wave of -1 voltage? It cancels out. So that's how you cancel out this negative thought process and reprogram your mind. Your mind is a network of electricity. So this is what the Kabbalion teaches. And then you can direct thought. Whenever you have a goal or a concept, the goal is to take that positive thought or goal and direct it to the city of your choice after it passes that toll. So when you have all these positive thoughts, you want to direct them towards a certain city. So you take them through intention to a certain goal, and that's the city of choice. So I know that was kind of esoteric, but the point was you control your destiny. That's the whole point. You can turn these negative scenarios into the most positive thing. I'm sure we've all had experiences where we thought it was the end of the world, but then we look back like, oh, I'm glad that happened, because if it weren't for her ripping my
Best
soul
thing that
out,
ever happened to me.
if it wasn't for her ripping my soul out, let's make it relationship based, I wouldn't be able to have gone through that fire of the teaching of this life, which is to get you to the next level, to burn out the impurities to make you that gold. And that's what alchemy is all about, the science of alchemy. You know, what, I mean, I don't know how detailed you want to be, but what was the point where your back was against the wall? What time? How many?
I don't know how many people know my story. I think the first time I ever told my story publicly was actually when you interviewed me a few years ago. My back was against the wall. Basically, to wrap it up, I'm in Baltimore, got a janky hood studio, you know, $30 an hour, still not even making any money. No electricity in there. I'm sleeping in there next to a vending machine I can't eat out of. Car don't work. Then somebody broke in the studio, stole all my stuff. So, I mean, it was bottom. It was rock bottom. Outside of being able to walk and talk, it was rock bottom. And but if it wasn't for that moment, somebody wouldn't have suggested that I move to Atlanta. my girlfriend at the time wouldn't have suggested that she give up everything she had to come with me to bank on my music career, I wouldn't have had the discipline to go hit all the studios every day on the schedule and keep going until somebody heard my music. I wouldn't have met Polo. I wouldn't have met Timbaland. I wouldn't have worked with Justin Timberlake or Beyonce or Jay-Z or any of that stuff if it wasn't for me in that studio, not having anything, not being able to eat. And then finally, because I didn't leave then, I was still stupid enough to want to hold on to that life. It took somebody taking everything I had when I felt like I had nothing. Like, nah, you really got something. Now you really have nothing. That was my back against the wall moment. If it wasn't for that moment, I wouldn't be here today.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
You know, mine's a little more basic and typical. As far as how the business began, it's just once you get out of college and you realize there are no jobs that they kind of pitched you on, you have to visit reality. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, the real world is a lot more different than what they said. And you know, so my back's against the wall because I deferred my student loan 6 months, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to defer it for 3 years because you only have like the 3-year like maximum of deferring. So I said to myself, let me stop deferring the student loans. And luckily, I had the YouTube thing going at the time a little bit to sustain. But you know, I was like, okay, student loans are about to be real. This seems so basic, but to somebody coming out of school, your first $400 bill, you know, when you make no income is pretty insane. Like you have no idea how you're going to pay this off, and you know it's going to be like some legal problem if you don't. So, or like even more debt. So, you know, that was my back against the wall moment, which is just the reality of I have bills that are, you know, significant. Kind of basic of a story, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that around the world.
Well, for me, it's like, you know, I've been in the game for a long time. So, you know, with technology changing how music was distributed, you know, record sales went down. All of a sudden, those royalty checks are getting smaller and smaller. You go and do different things, the divorce and this and that. You got 4 kids, and, you know, everything kind of moved over. And I'm like, okay, what is the social media now? And this is this and this is that. And, you know, I was one of those people, I'm pretty open-minded, but I was real reluctant to like understand the new technology, you know what I mean? But it got to the point where, like you said, you know, everything that you know to be one way starts to change. And I'm not a person who panics under pressure. I just said, okay, well, I got to learn about this streaming thing. I got to learn about, you know, what is this social media really supposed to do? You know, I got to learn, you know, what's going on with this, and you know, that really. Being open-minded, not being one of those people like, oh, this is terrible and this and that and, you know, whatever, and move on with my life. My passion for music was so much, you know what I mean? And it was just like, well, I have to do this, but I also like to share information. And that's kind of what got me started into doing my podcast about the music business. So other people wouldn't get caught out there when stuff changing and you're not paying attention to, you know, because you know, everybody loves you. You're doing well when you're making the money, and you know, you're the hottest this of the moment, or whatever. But no one's really teaching you what's to come. What's to come? Like, you know, labels know, companies know. Okay, this streaming is coming. You know, when Napster came and all this thing, they know and they prepared. You know, even trying to get a job at the label, at one label, I won't say the name, and the executive was like, "Yo, we want to hire you, but streaming is, you know, the money's not there. But give it 2 years." I'm like, 2 years? You know that? You know it's going to turn around? You know what I mean? So it's just the whole thing about, you know, being so caught up into creating and making music and getting comfortable, which is another danger. Never get comfortable. You know what I mean? And just saying, okay, this is something I have to do and figure out. And I had a friend tell me one time, he's like, you know, you have so much wisdom and experience. He was like, no offense, your wisdom and experience is worth more than your beats right now. I was like, and I was like, you know what? That was such a jewel. You know what I mean? So that changed everything for me. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Just like Curtis King's new book. I didn't mean to cut you off, Postman, real quick. Is that Curtis King's new book? It didn't just take him a year. How long did it take you to write that? 2 years, excuse me. It didn't just take him 2 years. I don't want to put your age out there, but
33.
33.
I'm thankful to be alive.
Awesome,
33. Man. Yeah, I just turned 33. It's January 23rd.
Right.
So thank you. No, you know what's crazy? The older you get, the less you start worrying about how old you get, and you just thankful. Like,
happy.
Oh my God, like
You ain't gonna tell me.
I got so many. Yeah, I'm gonna say I got homies that didn't make it to this age, and I'm like, I'm thankful. What I say, because especially with these stories, there's a lot of stories that I dip into that it instantly take me back to a moment. One, I think that'll be of more entertainment than making you cry in this situation, because I got some of them stories, but I don't want to try to take myself out of that. But there was a situation where I had the opportunity where Murs. If you don't know Murs is like independent, legendary rapper from Los Angeles. He took me on tour, and at the time I was just some local kid from like the Inland Empire that was making somewhat of a buzz. I still didn't have no money to go on tour. I didn't know how I was going to do it. He suggested that me and then some folks that I was a part of a label called Black Cloud Music. He suggested that maybe we just do the West Coast swing, but we knew like this could be our big break, right? So we paid our way with money we didn't have. We literally had to learn how to sell ourselves on the road every single night. 2 months straight, 25 states, 52 cities in 2 months. Not seeing home, not getting no money from back home, because at the time, some of my loved ones wasn't really in support of this because they thought I should have been in college instead. But I'll give you a scenario. I get to San Francisco, and we're finally getting towards the home stretch. We went all across the U.S., come back to the home stretch, get to San Francisco, and my girlfriend at the time, I had made plans that, here I am on tour. I'm starting to make a little bit of money selling beats in my emails, not enough, probably $80 a month for all my needs. And so I got to San Francisco, and I booked this hotel only looking at the price and not looking at the stars necessarily, right? A rookie mistake. And I get down to San Francisco, get out the van. Me and a buddy actually got the same room because he had his girlfriend coming at the time. And get outside. The first thing I see, a lady walks up to me and she says, "You got any change?" And I say, "No, I'm sorry, ma'am." She pulls her pants down and just starts urinating. I said, "Where are we at?" Thinking nothing of it, right? Thinking nothing of it, keep going to the hotel. Walk up the stairs. The paint is kind of chipped. It's looking dingy. I'm like, whatever. As long as the room is cool, I'm not going to be out here in the lobby, right? And so get to the front desk. You know how hotels give you like the key that you put in the door? She gave me a janitor key and was like, down the way. I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm looking towards the end, and I'm seeing a kitchen and I'm seeing a bathroom. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of crazy. That's a little different. Maybe that's a San Francisco thing. I open the door up. No TV, a window with bars on it, one bed with a roll of toilet paper on it. No bathroom or nothing, okay? That's a hostel. I figured out what hostel, I thought hostel was a scary movie. I figured out hostel was an actual thing. And so I'm like panicking, like, oh my God, I only have $50 left in my pocket. Like after getting this room, I'm thinking like I'm being, the best man ever. And then I'm like, I can't bring my girlfriend at the time. I can't take her to a hostel. You can't. I ain't seen you in 2 months, and I'm gonna see you in a hostel. Now I know how I really been going on the road. So I look in the area. Mind you, this is before like a lot of the social media coupons and stuff you can get. I found a Holiday Inn down the street. Taking the bags, me and my buddy said, "Man, we just got to take this L because there was no refunds." I asked the lady for a refund. She pointed to the sign and didn't say nothing else. Didn't even look up. Went down the street, went down to this Holiday Inn, asked him, I said, "Ma'am, how much are the rooms? What are the cheapest rooms?" She said, $225. And she looked at my face, I looked at my home, and she said, "But if you go to Travelocity.com, you get a cheaper one." I said, "Thank you, God bless." And so I sat there in that lobby, and I was panicking because I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? $50 left. I don't have the money. I'm looking up, and I found a deal. The deal was for $130 for this hotel. I said, that's a hell of a deal. I need to take care of this. I sit back in my chair, and I'm like, I got this email list. How can I make money? How can I make this money right now? What am I going to do? My girlfriend at the time walks in the lobby. I'm trying not to worry her about what's actually going on. I just tell her I got to make some moves. And by chance, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, what can I send to my email list? I don't want to look desperate for them to be like, oh, I just had pride issues at the time. And so a lady passed by and said, "Thank God it's Friday." I said, "Black Friday deal." I don't know. You got to be the man upstairs. I said, "Black Friday deal." I sat down there, got on my laptop. I wrote the fastest message I ever wrote in my life. And I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, exclusives are no longer $150 a day. Exclusives today are $25. Black Friday deal." Within 5 minutes, I get text message. Was that a typo inside your email? No, it's not a typo. Okay, I'm gonna buy 4 of those. Okay, so then that 50 goes to 100 or not. I'm sorry, that wasn't the first one. The first one was like 25. They just bought one. And I'm sitting there like, Maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. What I didn't understand was that was my introduction to how the leasing business works. That was my introduction. I said, what would happen if I use a $25 price point to basically, later on I would figure out that's what it was. But at the time I was just like, I need to make this money. And I made, the first time I ever did $300 an hour. Had enough for pizza, for the room. I could have went for a couple more nights. But back against the wall situation, that just shows you sort of my mentality to where I wanted to panic. My heart was beating out of my chest like crazy. I wish I can tell you like it was like a Denzel moment, like, nah, we got this. But it wasn't one of those. I was sitting there like, God, you got to throw me your alley-oop on this one. And sure enough, that was an introduction to now the business that I do today. I didn't know it, but now me owning the Producer Noir title and understanding what it is, that moment was defining for what the work I do today, to where now I'm trying my best as I talk to producers who either don't understand the business or in Postman, I'm so thankful for you, bro, because you were one of the pioneers of this. And if there wasn't for you and the folks who went and told the gospel of this, literally, I would still be like a lot of like my OGs coming up who were like, don't do that because it's going to cheapen your brand. They were more so concerned about my brand's appearance than the actual money I was making. And it took me having my back against the wall in that hostel in San Francisco. And I said, something got to change. And I went home and I still was stubborn. It didn't do nothing. And then the car broke down. And then I called a homie that was #1 on SoundClick again. And I was like, bro, can you just share some information with me? Conversation changed my life the last 3 or 5 years that I've been involved in this.
I would be honest with you. I never tell the story, but actually, I'm gonna tell you the end. First, what it taught me was that it made me, one, I ain't afraid of nothing. Like, you can't scare me. And two, like when I see somebody, I really believe that you could do it's possible for you to do your dreams, no matter where you're at. So you could tell me like, man, oh man, this happened to me. I forgot. Man, I don't really give a fuck. Excuse my language. Like, I know you could do it if you just get up and do it. And the reason why I know that is because my back wasn't really against the wall. It was against the sand. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, how many been in Atlantic City before? Anybody been there? Okay, so you know. Okay, so literally I was sleeping on the beach, me and my girl, and to try to make money to get a hotel, I was playing blackjack. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to play blackjack, but I ended up losing. So obviously, right? I wasn't that good at it, but I ended up losing. But what's worse, if you've been to Atlantic City, you know, like, it is a lot of homelessness. So like, you can't sleep in the hotels. Like, so like we try to sleep at a slot machine. They got like 24-hour security that'll wake you up. Like, no, you can't sleep in here. So we literally had to sleep on the beach. And then to make matters far worse, my girlfriend's purse gets stolen while we sleep on the beach, right? So it's like her ID, passport, her electric phone, all that is in the purse. So now we stuck out here. She ain't got her bank cards, which, that's a bad thing. And now it's like really like no hope. So I'm like, okay, God, if there is a God or whatever, like I'm in this, we ain't got no money to eat. I literally don't got no more money to play blackjack. So I'm like, okay, if there is a God, I'll be talking about it all the time, then I need to really know now. Because I really ain't got no answers, and I can't get on the airplane and go back home because I ain't got no airfare. You see what I'm saying? So from that moment, that's the moment that it's like this. I can't really explain to nobody, but it's like this euphoric feeling that hits you, where it's like you realize like I really ain't in control. Like, it's nothing left for me to do because I was trying to do it on my own this whole time. It's like it's really nothing. Like, fuck it, I can't do nothing. Yeah, the surrender. That's the key. Yeah, that's the word. It's like you really surrender. Like, okay, well, I ain't been listening this whole time. What is it? And then, I can't really explain to you, but one thing leads to another. And the long story short, I end up scraping up and ended up getting found a pretty nice hotel for a good amount of money out there. It was like in Absecon, New Jersey, some place you'd never heard of. But they had a cool little hotel, and it was like $50 a night or something. And I just started scraping up, and and I was a young producer trying to sell beats, and things started happening for me. And long story short, years later, here I am today. And the whole point of the story for me is like if somebody tells me what condition they're in, like a lot of times people say, no, you could do it, but in their mind, they really don't believe you could do it. They're like, yeah, you might be able to do it, but damn, man, you're in a bad place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really know, like, if you really put your mind to it and this is your passion and you really go for it and you really put the work in, that it is gonna happen for you. So it's not a sad story, I guess, but this is a true story, and I'm shortening it because it gets uglier. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot uglier. But this is the compact version to say that, you know, I believe in everybody in here, you know, and it just starts with having that dream and that vision and that passion, and then coming to stuff like this. You know, as I started to build, I was in conferences. At first, there wasn't no conferences like this. So shout out to Busy Works, because this wasn't happening in the producer community before. Like, I'm talking about back in the day. Like, we weren't getting together, you know. And then later on, they started, you know, Dynamic Producer. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. They started doing those. And then, you know, slowly but surely, you know, a community was built. So, you know, I would say that you know, forget all the other stuff you hear outside of these walls, that you can't do it, that it's not a stable career. Yeah, the music industry is tough in terms of it's always changing and everything, but the world's always gonna need music. And it's not going nowhere. So you can't put your stake in the ground and say, you know, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. Because that's what I did. I didn't go to college, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have no backup plan. You know, I wasn't aware either music was gonna work or I was gonna work at McDonald's. You know, that was really the option. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I just leave you with, I really believe in you. You can do it. And no matter what trials you're going through, it don't really matter. Like, in the end, you're going to win.
Awesome, and I can attest to that. Again, Postman, like Curtis King said, is truly one of the first. You have videos dating all of us, talking about how to be successful in the music business. I remember listening to your stuff before and listening to it now. I always got motivated, but I look back at it now with my perspective. You were literally giving out information for free that I've heard from my mentors giving out for $10,000 a seat at a seminar. This is how valuable his content is. You just have to be aware of the value you're receiving. And the reason I brought up your book and Crucial's wisdom is that your book didn't just take 2 years to write. It took 33 years to write, or 31 years to write at the time. 32. I don't know how to do backwards. So -2. So whatever that number is, it took you that long to gain all that experience and knowledge and wisdom so that you can share it and duplicate yourself being a true leader through teaching and sharing. So, you know, I believe the food's out. And again, we don't want to run up our time here at Love and Laughter Studios. We've done it too many times already. So the last segment is a feedback segment. And again, one way to kill two birds with one stone is to have everybody grab some food, chit chat, excuse me. And then come back in here. I think, who's VIP? We got Sincere, we got my boy over here, and we got Serge. So that's a lot to squeeze in. So I know, Serge, we're going to take you in that room. You know, we can pick rooms, whatever, but grab your food, and then you can bring it in here. We're going to listen to their tracks and do the same thing we did in the beginning if you were here during the beginning. So first of all, I want to say we appreciate you for all joining, creating this moment. And I'll let everyone sign off with their unique twist.
So once again, Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com, Curtis King TV. Everything is 2 S's. You put one, don't do that because it's another band, it's another person. But Curtis King, pretty much, and just as genuine as this conversation is, I'm telling you, anybody in here have a question for me, I'm gonna do my best to answer it, not just to answer it for you, but what would I do if I was in your position? When I was a kid, I used to imagine like, man, I wish God gave me the ability to know what it feels like to dunk like the dude in middle school named Randy Williams. He had the most ridiculous hops. And another kid named Aaron Afala. I wonder whatever happened to him. Middle school. Seeing that, I used to imagine what that is, and I feel like that was me activating the skill that I have now, which is if you got your particular situations or issues, understand your issues are all universal. Everybody's going through their own version of that. So I'm always here as a resource. Like I said, Curtis King on everything with 2 S's. I absolutely have the book, The Prosperous Hip Hop Producer. It takes you through some great detail of these stories that I told you before. And it's my most proudest masterpiece. I've had albums that went number 4 on iTunes, and those were great accomplishments. But that bad boy right there is my everything right now, and I'm thankful to be able to share that story with you. If you have any questions about that, just come talk to me. Let's chop it up. Thank you. Mid-February, it'll become an Audible, and then there'll be the Kindle version along with the hardback will be available.
Awesome. He's been modest. It even charted in Amazon as well. It's like the #1 bestseller of a certain category.
New release in the rap
Number one-
section. I mean, there ain't a whole lot of rap books coming out at that time, but it is
Still.
definitely.
You over here
It is
charting.
definitely something. Gucci Man was in there. I know that. That made me feel good. I was like, what? Nah, but thank you for the questions, because those of you that spoke up, you never know who else in this room was afraid to speak up and ask that question. It takes a lot of heart to do what you do. So thank you.
My name is Sound Oracle. If you got anything from anything that I said today, then I feel like I've done my job, and I just want to thank you for helping me live out my purpose. That's it.
You can check liveoffbeats.com. You know, that's where we got a lot of products and different stuff. We're a company that teaches music producers how to market and sell. And I've dealt with hundreds of thousands of music producers, literally. So, you know, at this point, I kind of know what successful producers look like, and the ones that come from nothing and become successful. So it's really simple. You know, you got the music, you got the craft, then you just have to put the marketing and put the same amount of energy into your marketing and yourself as you do into the music that you make. And trust me, you hustle hard as hell, like, you're gonna beat everybody. And that's the real secret ingredient. And everything else is cool, like, you're gonna learn things and all that kind of stuff, but it's that real hustle. That's that hunger and that hustle, that's really the determining factor of who's gonna make it or not. I really don't even care about, I hear somebody's music and it could be trash, but they got that hunger, that hustle, I say, damn, he gonna make it. I hear somebody that music is the best I've ever heard, but yet they just real, like, laxical with it, like, oh, I'll get to that, I'll do that one day, that sounds good. I know that, man, they ain't finna do shit. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? That's for real. That's the real determining factor. So, yeah. Excuse my language. I know. Hopefully, I didn't mess up your YouTube money. But yeah. So that's the determining factor, man. You got to hustle hard, man.
What up, what up? My name is Kerry Crucial Brothers, a.k.a. Crucial Keys. I'm just happy to be here. You know, I learned from all these guys sitting up here. You know what I mean? You know, it's real dope to be a part of this community and just seeing what you're doing, game, and what, you know, I follow this guy's live stream. I watch all these guys' videos on YouTube. I'm just trying to be like them, you know?
Awesome, man. And I
You the only one shooting in 4K though. I done seen your videos. I'm like, God, I feel like I could touch that.
Oh yeah,
PPC.
that's right. You can check me out. You know, I got my little YouTube channel too. You know what I mean? At Crucial Keys, YouTube Crucial Keys, Instagram Crucial Keys, but Twitter I'm just Crucial.
And just casually flew back from New York from the Grammy weekends, hanging out. Just casually snuck in. Awesome, man. I love to have, you know, these people I consider my business friends, and hopefully, you know, we can create more value for you. I'm honored, truly. Every time I sit here, every single night, I go, is this really happening? Every single night we had this for 4 nights straight. Yeah, there she is. So, thank you all for joining me today. And again, we're on a strict time schedule, so we got to get our food, come back here, and then do the feedback thing. But I thank you for watching all around the world. To the millions we're going to influence and create value for and change your life, it's BusyWorksBeats.com.
There you go.